Chapter 408. Taoist Lei Yen sent his divine sense into the seal image and said, Dao Yuan, reduce the spiritual energy in the seal image to the lowest level. It'll be fine as long as you can barely maintain the image. Wang Dao Yuan extracted most of the spiritual energy from the seal image until it was barely enough to maintain the image. Taoist Lei Yen looked at the extremely dim seal image and nodded. Liang, you do it. Use whatever spell you want to attack Kiran's forehead. It doesn't need to be very powerful. It'll be fine as long as it has the power of a low-grade second-level talisman. Zhao Liang had absolute trust in Taoist Lei Yen. Without saying anything, he condensed a small fiery red sword in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the small sword flew out and hit Kiran's forehead. The seal image had no power to resist this small fiery red sword. The small sword directly pierced through Kiran's seal, and the entire seal image instantly collapsed. Wang Dao Yuan felt spiritual energy enter his body in reverse. Although it was quickly suppressed, his meridians were still in pain. Fortunately, Taoist Lei Yen told him to extract most of the spiritual energy from the seal image. Otherwise, if the spiritual energy were to flow in reverse, his meridians and dantian would be severely damaged. Taoist Lei Yen said angrily, Luo Jiuyo is so vicious. I really underestimated his ability. Just now, when Dao Yuan attacked the seal image, the spiritual energy in Kiran's forehead circulated abnormally. I thought that Luo Jiuyo had only done something to use it against you. I didn't think that he would be able to hide such a vicious trick in his fusion technique. It could actually cause spiritual energy to flow in reverse. If you had refined the 5 natal magic tools and condensed the true 5 elements devil suppression seal, when you fought with Luo Jiuyo, he only needed to casually use a 3rd-level spell to hit Kiran's forehead and the seal would instantly collapse. With the 5 magic tools, it wouldn't be as simple as the spiritual energy flowing in reverse. The 5 magic tools would very likely go out of control and forcefully enter your dantian or sea of consciousness. At that time you would have no hope of survival. Fortunately, you were smart enough to let me help you see if there was any problem. Otherwise, who knows when I'll be screwed over by him in the future. Wang Daoyuan was also scared. His vigilance was still too low. Fortunately, Zhou Wan reminded him. Otherwise, he would really fall into Luo Jiuyo's trap. He used to think that the reason why the Netherworld sect suppressed the old family was that the external forces wanted to destroy the old family and influence the decision of the higher-ups. Now, it seemed that the local branch of the Netherworld sect was not a good person either. Wang Daoyuan originally thought that now that the 3 sects of the state of Zhao were no longer fighting and the situation was stable, the Wang family could develop in peace. Now, it seemed that the strategy of a crafty rabbit having 3 burrows was far from enough. He still needed to increase his power as quickly as possible and reach the late Zifu stage. Go find the old path that the 10,000 Corpse Taoist master used to cross the heaven/mountain range and open up the 3rd cave. The most important thing now was to solve the problem of the 5 elements devil suppression seal. He asked Lei Yen Zhenren, Master, can the flaws in this combination technique be fixed? Taoist Thunderflame replied with a smile. If it were someone else, it would be really hard to repair without a few decades. But for me, it wasn't that difficult. Back then, Taoist devil suppression was in the southern wasteland, suppressing the rebellion of the demonic cultivators. Whenever he obtained good materials, he would bring them to the treasured Cauldron Mountain to exchange for magic tools, pills, talismans, and so on. Over time, he became good friends with several seniors of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Among these seniors was our sect's founder, Taoist Thunderlight. Back then, Taoist devil suppression wanted to refine 5 life-bound magic tools and combine them to unleash an extremely strong power. He himself was not good at refining, so it was impossible for him to create a set of combined magic tools. But Taoist Thunderlight was a 5th-rank blacksmith and was also a famous gentleman. Thus, he asked Taoist Thunderlight for help. This combination technique of the 5 elements magic tools was completed under Taoist Thunderlight's guidance. Taoist Thunderlight was a benevolent person and did not leave behind a copy of the combination technique. But in his own refining experience, he mentioned the principle of the combination technique. With Taoist Thunderlight's experience and this problematic combination technique, give me 1 or 2 years, and I will be able to deduce the complete secret technique. Even if it is different from the original version, the overall function will not be too different. It shouldn't be a problem for you to stay with me for 2 years, right? Wang Daoyuan smiled apologetically. What are you saying, master? It is my duty to serve you. Fifth granduncle and 12th uncle are taking care of the family. Not returning for more than 10 years is not a big deal. But there is one thing I want to ask master for help with. Taoist Thunderflame also had a forthright personality. I don't like this about you. You don't speak or do things straightforwardly. Since I accepted you as my disciple, I naturally have to help you solve your problem. If you have something to ask, just say it. There is no need to talk about begging. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands. Then this disciple will say it directly. I want master to help me modify the vermilion bird fan. Among the 5 magic tools, the white tiger blade is for offense, the black tortoise shield is for defense, the azure dragon pearl is for healing, and the Kirin seal is for suppression. But the vermilion bird fan's function is too simple. It can only control fire attribute spiritual fire, and its lethality is not much. I want you to help me modify the vermilion bird fan so that it can control the 5 elemental spiritual fire. Taoist Thunderflame thought for a while and said, Daoyin Yanger, leave first. I have a secret matter to discuss with Dao Yuan that cannot be easily revealed. The matter of me finding the flaw in the 5 elemental devil suppression seal must not be known to anyone else. Otherwise, if it reaches Luo Joyo's ears, it will be detrimental to Dao Yuan and the Wang family. Wang Daoyin and Zhao Liang cupped their hands and said yes, then left the cave. Taoist Thunderflame released his spiritual sense. The door to the cave closed, and the soundproofing and sealing formations were activated. Afterwards, he smiled. When I first met you, I discovered that your spiritual power had a special attribute. It is not uncommon for spiritual power to have special attributes, but your spiritual power at that time had 2 different special attributes. This time, you want to modify the vermilion bird fan to control the 5 elemental spiritual fire. The special attribute in your spiritual power might be caused by refining spiritual fire. You don't need to be afraid. I am a lightning attribute cultivator, and the 5 elemental spiritual fire is useless to me. If you can refine the 5 elemental spiritual fire, your cultivation speed will greatly increase, and you might be able to form a golden core in less than 100 years. What other spiritual fire do you lack? Let me see if I can help. Wang Daoyuan smiled helplessly. I thought I hid it well, but I still couldn't hide it from you. I already have 3 spiritual fires, and I still lack metal and fire attribute spiritual fires. Taoist Thunderflame said, I do have a few fire attribute spiritual fires, but they all have owners. If you really can't find them, you can go find the cave residences of ancient cultivators who play with fire, or kill some special fire attribute demonic beasts. Maybe you can obtain a spiritual fire. Metal attribute spiritual fires are relatively rare, and only exist in high-grade metal attribute spiritual veins and metal mines. Unfortunately, the spiritual fire I cultivated with the help of a small divine ability is lightning attribute, so it won't be of much help to you. I'll leave it for Daoyin in the future. I'm not in a hurry to find spiritual fires, so I'll first help you solve the problem of the 5 elemental devil subduing seal. The vermilion bird is the strongest fire attribute divine bird, and can be said to be the ancestor of fire. It has the ability to control all flames. If it can only control fire attribute spiritual fires, wouldn't it be inferior to the divine bird by Fong? It's just that the vermilion bird fan isn't complete enough, so it can only control fire attribute spiritual fires. After I modify it, it won't be difficult to control the 5 elemental spiritual fire, and it can also complement the heaven-burning divine fire. It's just that the vermilion bird visualization diagram recorded in the original refining method can no longer be used. You have the vermilion bird in your Zifu anomaly, so you don't need the vermilion bird visualization diagram, so it won't affect you much. Modifying the vermilion bird fan, in addition to the secret restoration method, will only take about 3 years. It's a piece of cake. In these 3 years, you'll be my assistant, and I can also pass on the deduction method of the natal magic artifact to you. The 5 elemental devil subduing seal has great potential, so you have to work hard to unlock its potential. Chapter 409. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands. Yes, master. Lei Yan smiled. You don't have to be so reserved. Go to the innermost part of the cave and take a look at the refining methods of the ancestors. When I'm done modifying the vermilion bird fan, you can try to refine it and see if the modification is correct. What I have here are all things that belong to our lineage. You can take a look if you want. The divine weapon pavilion master can't do anything about it. Wang Daoyuan bowed and walked towards the innermost part of the cave. As a peak golden core cultivator and an upper-tier 4th-grade blacksmith, Lei Yan's cave was naturally not bad. The cave was divided into 4 parts. The front part was for receiving guests, the back part was for cultivating, the back part was for refining, and the innermost part was the stone room where the ancient books were kept. Wang Daoyuan went straight to the stone room where the ancient books were kept. It wasn't big and was only 30 feet wide. In the entire stone room, there were 3 bookshelves. On each of them were the insights of the previous generations of grandmasters regarding the refinement of magic tools, various patterns of tools, and specific methods of refining magic tools. For an artificer, it was only when they were advancing that they needed the insights of their seniors the most. At other times, the most important thing was the runes. When one understood more tool patterns and needed to modify Dharma artifacts or create new Dharma artifacts, one only needed to use the ready-made tool patterns. As for the stability of the artifact, it would have to be improved slowly. Wang Daoyuan's first goal was naturally the runes. In fact, the order wasn't important. In this stone room, there were more than 1,000 beast skin books in addition to the refining methods of the artifacts. There were less than 100 books with runes and insights. He had always lacked a profound refining legacy. Now that he had the opportunity, he would not give up until he memorized all the books in the library. But it was a pity that it was troublesome to copy the runes. Not only did he have to copy the runes, he also had to copy the runes. If he wasn't a blacksmith, he wouldn't be able to copy them. His clone, Li Qingchuan, couldn't help, so he could only do it himself. Lei Yan, who was meditating in the guest room, smiled when he saw Wang Daoyuan drooling. He continued to think about modifying the vermilion bird fan. Half a year later, Wang Daoyuan had made a copy of the tool inscriptions and the insights of all the ancestors. As for the refining methods of those magic tools, he could only take his time. There were too many things to pay attention to when it came to the refining method of an immortal artifact. Other than the basic refining method, there were also the flaws and ways to improve the immortal artifact. Refining a slightly more difficult magic tool would require several pages of beast skin to record. In any case, he did not plan to leave the Divine Weapon Pavilion too early. The spirit vein of the treasured Cauldron Mountain was still non-elemental, which was very suitable for his cultivation. It would not be a problem for him to stay here for 10 to 20 years. At this time, Daoist Thunderflame had also completed the initial improvements to the vermilion bird fan. He shouted to Wang Daoyuan, "Daoyuan, cut down a few third-tier mid-grade branches from the blood-fire hibiscus at the entrance. The improvement of the vermilion bird fan is almost complete. Let's try refining it first." Wang Daoyuan ran to the guest room and said with some difficulty, "Master, after all, I have not joined the Divine Weapon Pavilion. It's not appropriate for me to cut down the spirit wood here, right?" Daoist Lei Yan had an indifferent expression. "This blood-fire hibiscus was planted by our ancestor and is the private property of our lineage. The underground fire vein connected to the roots of the tree was also brought here by our ancestral master. Not only did it not consume any of the treasured Cauldron Mountain spiritual energy, it also continuously emitted a dense fire spiritual energy. As long as I have no objections, even if you dig it up by the roots, no one will dare to say anything." This time, Wang Daoyuan was relieved. When he left in the future, he could cut down a tender branch and plant it in the space of the spirit pearl to see if it could survive. Leaving the cave, he rode the kite and flew to the treetops of the blood-fire hibiscus. The tender branches that had just grown out of the treetops were third-tier low-grade spiritual trees. Wang Daoyuan chose a branch that was as thick as an adult's arm and used the white tiger blade to cut it, but it was only cut in half. At the wound of the branch, a dense fire attribute spiritual energy was emitted. Although the white tiger blade was only third-tier low-grade, its material was excellent and he had also comprehended the white tiger sword intent. Even a third-tier high-grade spiritual tree could not withstand a single strike. The strength of this blood-fire hibiscus was really not ordinary. He then used the white tiger blade to chop off the branch. A fire attribute spiritual energy surged out of the wound. Wang Daoyuan was several feet away from the wound and he felt a bit hot. Just as he did not know what to do, Daoist Lei Yan's voice sounded, "Don't worry about the wound, it will grow back by itself." Wang Daoyuan was relieved. Carrying the cut branch, he entered the cave. He asked Daoist Lei Yan, "Master, I see that this blood-fire hibiscus is extremely extraordinary. Its name also has the word hibiscus. What is its relationship with the legendary divine tree hibiscus? Taoist Lei Yan smiled. This thing has grown here for 20 to 30,000 years and has always been like this. The legendary hibiscus is a tree root that grows two trunks that support each other, hence the name hibiscus. This thing does not look like hibiscus. In the past 20,000 years, it has never produced mulberries. There are rumors that this blood-fire hibiscus evolved from hibiscus. However, without the nourishment of the sun-true fire of the golden crow, it became like this. The golden crow has not appeared in the world for tens of thousands of years. Even demon birds with the golden crow bloodline are rare. Where can we find the sun-true fire? This thing is not bad for refining. Furthermore, its grade has been slowly increasing. Just let it grow. But the flying magic tool you just used, I have never seen it before. What is it? When a refiner sees a magic tool they have never seen before, they will always have a strong curiosity. Wang Daoyuan took out the flying kite and answered, "This is something I modified from the crane feather boat. There are still many problems. I asked Senior Zhao Liang to help me modify it before. Now, it can fly over 4,000 miles in 2 hours. When it reaches 4,100 miles, it will violently tremble." Taoist Lei Yan took the flying kite and observed it carefully. This flying kite is rather interesting. I will help you modify it and refine it into a third-tier magic tool. This is my modified refining method for the vermilion bird fan. Try refining it into a normal magic tool and see how it is. After he finished speaking, he handed a jade slip to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan took the jade slip and took it to the refining room at the back to try refining the vermilion bird fan. From the insights of the ancestors, he knew that refining a natal magic tool could be done by refining a normal magic tool. Even if it failed, there would not be much loss. The difference between a normal magic tool and a natal magic tool lies in the materials used, the method of inscribing the tool pattern, and whether or not it could be nurtured. The tool pattern itself has no difference. Using inferior materials to refine a normal magic tool. Although a normal magic tool refined this way is not as powerful as a natal magic tool, it does not have the ability to grow continuously. However, it still has the basic functions of a natal magic tool. It is very suitable to test if the refining method is reasonable. This method is very common, but in the records left behind by the Wang family ancestor, there is no mention of this method. Wang Daoyuan also asked Taoist Lei Yan. In the end, Taoist Lei Yan said angrily, "Your family ancestor is a complete brute, but fortune favors fools. Cultivation relies on brute force. From chi refinement to golden core, it was all done by brute force. He never used any supplementary spiritual items, and he still succeeded. Modifying a dharma spell also relies on brute force. Refining a natal magic tool also relies on brute force." His profound dragon sea-flipping sword was forcefully comprehended by looking at the refining methods of a few natal magic tools. He did not modify it at all, but its power is not weak. There were a few cultivators with heavenly spirit roots in the same era, but none of them can compare to him. Out of all the people I've seen, only you have the same level of comprehension as him. I suspect that he also has a postnatal spiritual body. Unfortunately, he has been dead for more than 400 years, so there is no way to verify it. Chapter 4:10. After learning about the glorious deeds of his patriarch, Wang Daoyuan felt that it was a pity. It was a pity that he had such great talent. Back then, if his patriarch had properly cultivated the 4 paths of elixir, smithing, and talisman formations, he could have left behind a legacy for the family. After his death in battle, the Wang family would not have fallen to the point where they had to sell their ancestral properties to survive. Later on, he could have saved a lot of effort to revitalize the family. He brought the jade scroll to perfected being Lei Yan's weapon refinement room. There were plenty of materials to refine weapons, and there were also many feathers of grade 3 demonic beasts. However, there were no natal tail feathers. Ordinary grade 3 demonic beasts did not have natal tail feathers. Demonic beasts that could grow natal tail feathers definitely had the bloodline of high-tiered demonic beasts. The natal tail feathers were equivalent to the second inner core of a demonic beast and contained a large amount of its blood chi and spirit energy. Through the natal tail feathers, it could unleash innate skills similar to high-tiered demonic beasts. A single natal tail feather required 100 years of the demonic beast's time to grow. Demonic beasts would constantly nurture their natal tail feathers, and the longer they nurtured them, the stronger the power of the natal tail feather would be. Furthermore, Once the natal tail feather fell off from the demonic beast, the essence within would begin to dissipate. If one wanted to preserve it for a long time, they would have to pay a high price. Therefore, weapon refinement masters would try their best to refine dermic weapons after obtaining the natal tail feather. It was extremely difficult to find stocks of this item. However, with the refinement method of the vermilion bird fan, there was no need to use the natal tail feather to refine ordinary dermic weapons. Ordinary grade 3 demonic beast feathers would suffice. A section of the blood-fire hibiscus branch was cut off to refine into the handle of the vermilion bird fan, and 5 ordinary feathers of grade 3 demonic beasts were used to refine the fan face. Initially, the feathers of the 5 grade 3 demonic beasts were all of the fire element. But now, in order to control the 5 elemental spirit fires, the materials of the feathers had to be changed as well. The 5 feathers belonged to the 5 elements respectively. The most important feather in the middle had to be of the fire element. The natal tail feather was expensive and not easy to preserve. Therefore, there were no stocks of it. Ordinary feathers did not cost much to preserve. Perfected being Lei Yan's weapon refinement room had quite a number of them of all the 5 elements. There weren't many changes to the tool pattern. The basic tool pattern was the same whether one controlled multiple types of flames or one type of flame. By making some modifications to the original foundation, one could control the 5-element spiritual fire. Wang Daoyuan's current tool refining technique was only at the 3rd tier lower grade, and he could only refine the 3rd tier lower grade vermilion bird fan. After failing once, he succeeded on his 2nd try. After the magic tool recognized him as its master, he used the vermilion bird fan's additional magic, the vermilion bird fire control technique. A fiery red vermilion bird phantom with a wingspan of about 100 feet flew out. At the same time it cast a fireball technique. With his current cultivation base, the might of a first-order fireball was comparable to a second-order mid-grade offensive talisman. Under the control of the vermilion bird's shadow, the fireball's power was instantly doubled, and it was even slightly stronger than a stage 2 high-grade offensive talisman. Controlling fire was not a problem at all, but whether or not he could control other types of spiritual fire, he still needed to try it out. His 3 spiritual flames were all stored in the space within the spiritual pearl. Under the eyes of Taoist Lei Yan, a peak Jindan stage cultivator, he didn't dare to rashly take things from the spiritual pearl. It would be more appropriate to let little brother help. His purple thunder divine fire was pretty good. Wang Daoyuan came to the refining room and condensed a ball of thunder fire according to Wang Daoyuan's instructions. Wang Daoyuan activated the vermilion bird fan, and a vermilion bird phantom flew out, controlling the thunderfire. The fireball instantly doubled in size, and purple lightning flickered within it. It seemed that its power had more than doubled. Since the vermilion bird fan was useful for thunder-type flames, the 5-element spiritual fire was naturally not a problem. Taoist Lei Yan's modification of the vermilion bird fan was very successful. It already had the ability to control and increase the power of spiritual fire. The materials used to refine the Lifebound magic tool were even better. The Lifebound magic tool could also gradually become stronger through nourishment, and its power would definitely far surpass that of this ordinary magic tool. There was also the Heaven-Burning Divine Fire technique, which could be combined with the power of the Vermilion Bird Fan. After refining the Vermilion Bird Fan and using it with spiritual fire, it would not be impossible for it to injure a late Zifu stage cultivator. Taoist Lei Yan used his spiritual sense to observe the effects of the modification of the Vermilion Bird Fan. He said to Wang Daoyuan, "Using inferior refining materials and having no form or spirit, it's already not bad to have this kind of power. If you were to refine it into a life-bound magic tool, its power would be much greater. In the future, how much the Vermilion Bird Fan can grow will be up to you. The modification of the Vermilion Bird Fan can be considered complete." With the modification of the Vermilion Bird Fan, the secret technique of the 5 elements Devil Smiting Seal will also need to be modified. You can continue to study the records left behind by the patriarchs. I need to continue to analyze the secret technique and don't have time to teach you step by step. If there's anything you don't understand, come ask me. Wang Daoyuan bowed in acknowledgement, then returned to the library and continued to copy down the forging methods of those magic tools. If he were to copy down all of these forging methods, it would take him 10 or 20 years to do so. Not all of these magic tools were what Wang Daoyuan needed, so there was no need to copy them all down. Before copying them down, he had to first categorize the forging methods of these magic tools. He had to select the ones with relatively high prices, those with great power, and those that could be quickly used. For example, he had to select some of the high-level magic tools that could be refined using the profound origin gourd. Naturally, he couldn't miss out on the forging methods of 4th grade and 5th grade magic tools. There was also no need to copy down ordinary offensive and defensive magic tools, as well as magic tools that weren't too valuable. In the end, he picked out more than 200 forging methods of magic tools. These magic tools were relatively high in value, and their forging methods were also extremely complicated. After 3 years, he finally finished copying down all of the magic tools that he had picked out. Perfected Thunderflame had also finished deducing the combination technique and shouted, "Dao Yuan, I've finished deducing the 5 elements Devil Smiting Seal. You can try cultivating it and see if there's anything lacking." Wang Dao Yuan immediately walked out of the library and came before Perfected Thunderflame. Perfected Thunderflame smiled and asked, "You've comprehended the forging experiences left behind by the patriarchs. Is there anything you don't understand?" Wang Dao Yuan had been copying the records for the past 3 years and hadn't comprehended anything at all. He replied awkwardly, "I've only been copying the records for the past few years and haven't started comprehending them yet. Please forgive me, Master." Perfected Thunderflame smiled and said, "It's fine. Copying is also a method of cultivation. My comprehension is far inferior to yours. When I was young, I learned forging from your grandmaster and often didn't understand things. Your grandmaster often punished me by copying down things I didn't understand. After copying a lot, I naturally understood. However, you and Daoyin aren't like brothers. Daoyin is an honest child who never wants things that aren't given to him. You, on the other hand, are the opposite. Whenever you have the opportunity, you'll take advantage of it. It's no wonder that you, a penta-spiritual roots cultivator, were able to establish the Violet Palace realm before the age of 120, and even forged 2 natal magic tools. You've also managed the Wang clan from a foundation establishment clan to its current state. Perhaps, people like you are more suitable to survive in this world of cultivators where danger lurks everywhere. The forging techniques left behind by the patriarchs still need you to carry forward, so it doesn't matter if you copy them down. You just have to remember not to bite off more than you can chew. Don't be blinded by those dazzling magic tools. You still have to focus on improving your forging skills. Comprehension of the Tao of forging is the foundation. Tool patterns are the foundation. As for the refining methods of those magic tools, they're just superficial knowledge. If you only focus on superficial knowledge and neglect the fundamentals, it'll be very difficult for you to have great achievements in the Tao of forging. You've relied on yourself to become a 3rd-tier lower-grade tool refiner. You should understand this, so I won't say anything more. This is the combination method of the 5 elements Devil Subduing Seal. After you've mastered it, let Daoyin burn it with the purple lightning divine flame. I'll see if there are any flaws. Chapter 4:11. Daoist Thunderflame took out a beast skin book and handed it to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan took the beast skin book and flipped through it. This was the beast skin book that recorded the refinement methods for the 5 magic treasures. The refinement methods for the vermilion bird fan had been improved. Later on, there were some additional magical techniques and secret combination techniques that had been modified. Wang Daoyuan used a few days to refine the additional magical techniques of the 5 magic treasures. Daoist Lei Yan had also improved these spells. Now, the casting speed was much faster than before. He once again condensed the illusory images of the 5 magic treasures. This time, it took him less than 2 breaths of time to completely condense them. Afterwards, he fused the 5 illusory images into one, forming the 5 elements Devil Subduing Seal. Daoist Thunderflame used his spiritual sense to carefully inspect the illusory image of the 5 elements Devil Subduing Seal, nodding. "Not bad. I don't see any problems. Daoyin, use the purple thunder god fire to envelop the illusory image of the seal and burn it with all your might." Wang Daoyin followed Daoist Thunderflame's instructions and used the purple thunder god fire to envelop the illusory image of the seal. At this moment, the outer layer of the illusory image of the seal was covered in a layer of purple flames, and within the flames, there was even a faint flicker of lightning. Every part of the illusory image of the seal was being attacked by the flames. If there was a particularly weak spot, the entire illusory image of the seal would collapse. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the illusory image of the seal was still very stable and showed no signs of collapsing. Daoist Thunderflame nodded in satisfaction. It seems that I haven't gone senile. This 5 elements devil subduing seal no longer has any obvious weaknesses. Attacks from cultivators of the same level are unable to cause any substantial damage to it. Now, using this illusory image of the seal against early Zifu disciples can be said to be unstoppable. Daoyin, you can put away the purple thunder god fire. Hearing his master's words, Wang Daoyin immediately put away the purple thunder god fire. Wang Daoyuan was also very satisfied with the illusory image of the seal. He laughed. Master, your skill in artificing is one of the best in all of Beiyuan Shouxian. He still has a long life ahead of him. It's not impossible for him to advance further in his cultivation and become a half-step Yuanian cultivator. How could he become senile? After perfecting the 5 elements devil suppression seal and hearing Wang Daoyuan's praise, Daoist Lei Yan was in a good mood. He stroked his long beard and said with a smile, "You sure know how to talk." This old man doesn't want to boast, but in all of Beiyuan Shouxian, there isn't a second person who can improve the 5 elements devil smiting seal to such an extent. I also added 2 more functions to this combination secret technique. Firstly, before the 5 intrinsic dermic artifacts are gathered, you can also fuse your existing intrinsic dermic artifacts into the 5 elements devil suppression seal's phantom to increase its power. This function is in the complete combination secret technique, but it's not in the sacrificial refining method that Luo Joyo gave you. He must have deleted it. Secondly, after the 5 natal dharma artifacts are gathered, you can combine them into the 5 elements devil subduing seal and nurture them. After all, nurturing 5 natal dermic artifacts at the same time was too time-consuming. I was hoping that you'd reach the golden core stage soon, so I thought of a way to lessen your burden. Directly nurturing the 5 elements devil suppression seal will consume the same amount of spiritual power, true essence, and spiritual sense. However, it will only consume a fifth of the original amount of time, saving you 4/5 of the time to cultivate. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was overjoyed at the unexpected good news. The current Great Seal Phantom was able to withstand Wang Daoyin's Purple Thunder Divine Fire. The Purple Thunder Divine Fire was a spell that Daoist Lei Yan had created from a minor ability. Its power definitely surpassed that of an ordinary 4th-level spell. The strength of the Great Seal Phantom should be able to contend against a mid-Zifu realm cultivator. If he were to fuse the White Tiger Blade and Black Tortoise Shield into the Great Seal Phantom, its power would more or less increase. It might even be able to threaten late Zifu realm cultivators. Right now, the 5 elements devil suppression seal was already his strongest technique. The 5 elements devil suppression seal's power mainly came from his intrinsic dermic artifacts. As his cultivation increased, his intrinsic dermic artifacts would also become stronger, and the 5 elements devil suppression seal's power would also continue to grow. The method of nurturing it was even more important. Nurturing the White Tiger Blade to the point where it was mentally linked had taken more than 10 years. Nurturing all 5 dermic artifacts to this level would take another 40 years. Apart from nurturing them to the point where they were mentally linked, he also needed to raise their ranks. To nurture them to the 4th level would take at least 200 years. Reducing the nurturing time by 4/5 meant that he had saved more than 160 years. In the eyes of any cultivator, 160 years was extremely important. As for the consumption of spiritual energy, true essence and spiritual sense, Wang Daoyuan didn't care at all. Ever since he had discovered the space within the Soul Pearl, his cultivation method had been to use resources in exchange for time. With so many resources, even if the consumption rate was doubled, he would still be able to support it. He bowed solemnly. "Many thanks, Master." With this nurturing method, forming a golden core in 100 years isn't much of a problem. Daoist Lei Yan's face was also filled with pride. "No need to be so polite, disciple. It's only right for me to help you resolve your problems. Ever since Daoist demon suppression, no one else has been able to cultivate the 5 elements devil suppression seal to such an extent. The might of the 5 elements devil suppression seal has also not appeared in the world for 10,000 years. Merge the White Tiger Blade and Black Tortoise Shield into the seal and attack me with all your might. I also want to see how powerful the 5 elements devil suppression seal, which was known as 1 seal 10,000 demons fall, is." Hearing Daoist Lei Yan's words, Wang Daoyuan didn't hesitate and summoned the White Tiger Blade and Black Tortoise Shield, merging them into the 5 elements devil suppression seal. He wasn't worried about Daoist Lei Yan. At most, the 5 elements devil suppression seal could only injure late Zifu realm cultivators. Taoist Lei Yan was a peak Aurus core stage cultivator. Any random spell he used would be able to destroy the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal. After merging the White Tiger Blade and Black Tortoise Shield, the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal became more solid. After a few breaths, the entire seal seemed to have solidified. Taoist Lei Yan stood with his hands behind his back. A wisp of spiritual energy flashed from his body and a purple defensive barrier appeared around him. Wang Daoyuan saw that Taoist Lei Yan had already made his preparations and poured all the spiritual energy he could muster into the seal. Afterwards, he controlled the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal and smashed it towards Taoist Lei Yan. The 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal speed was quite fast. Furthermore, it emitted a suppressive force that suppressed its target, making it unable to dodge. Of course, this suppressive force was completely useless against Taoist Lei Yan. In the blink of an eye, the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal landed on Taoist Lei Yan's defensive barrier. A trace of fluctuation appeared on the barrier. This fluctuation was extremely weak and would be hard to notice if one didn't pay close attention. Wang Daoyuan didn't think much of it, but Taoist Lei Yan's face was filled with shock. Half a breath later, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual energy was exhausted and the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal collapsed. The White Tiger Blade and Black Tortoise Shield returned to his side. Taoist Lei Yan reacted and sighed in admiration. It seems that the rumors of the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal are true. You're only at the early Zifu realm and only have 2 natal magic artifacts. You were actually able to shake the defensive barrier that I condensed with 10% of my strength. Ordinary late Zifu realm cultivators don't have such strength. This move of yours is completely capable of breaking through the defenses of ordinary late Zifu realm cultivators. 1 seal. 10,000 demons submit. This rumor is indeed true. If you can refine 5 natal magic artifacts and comprehend the essence of the 5 elements divine beasts, you can fuse them into this seal. Once you reach the late Zifu realm, you'll have the ability to kill early golden core cultivators. To be able to kill a golden core cultivator at the late Zifu realm, such a cultivator is rarely seen even in 10,000 years. Even Taoist demon suppression didn't have this ability. Wang Daoyuan immediately took out a jar of spirit peach dew and drank a few mouthfuls. Panting, he said, the power of this move is strong enough, but the consumption is a bit too high. One move will exhaust all of one's spiritual power. If one doesn't win, one will die. I don't dare to hope that a late Zifu realm cultivator can kill a golden core cultivator. I've nurtured the White Tiger Blade for over 10 years, but I haven't even touched the edges of its essence. Comprehending the essence of the 5 elements divine beasts is easier said than done. Chapter 4:12. After drinking the spirit peach dew, his spirit energy quickly recovered and Wang Daoyuan's condition improved. Comprehending the 5 elements divine beast's charm was too difficult. He only knew that Xueqi had comprehended the Scarlet Phoenix's charm. Thunderflame smiled. How many years has it been since you established your Violet Palace? To be able to comprehend the White Tiger Sword intent and nurture the White Tiger Blade to the point where your mind is connected with it, you've already surpassed the majority of cultivators. I don't have a divine beast manifestation, but I still have some understanding of the charm of a divine beast manifestation. To comprehend the charm, it would take at least 40 to 50 years. However, your comprehension ability far surpasses ordinary people, so you might be able to do it faster. I can't help you in this aspect, but you can seek guidance from other cultivators who have comprehended the charm. Who knows, they might have some tricks. I've already modified the 5 elements Devil Subduing Seal for you. You like to search everywhere for comprehension. Do you have any good materials that you need me to refine into magic tools? Wang Daoyuan replied. A few years ago, when senior martial brother Zhao Liang was building his foundation, he was disturbed by his inner demons. I often traveled in the northern mountains and found a piece of profound ice chalcedony. Unfortunately, this profound ice chalcedony is only of the 3rd grade. It's enough to suppress senior martial brother Zhao Liang's inner demons, but it's not enough to overcome the Violet Palace Heart Devil tribulation. I've always wanted to refine it into a magic tool that can suppress inner demons and increase its power. However, my refining skills aren't enough and I'm worried that this material will be destroyed, so I can only ask for Master's help. After speaking, he took out the profound ice chalcedony and handed it to Thunderflame. Thunderflame took the profound ice chalcedony and said, "This profound ice chalcedony is not bad. It has a lot of ice attribute spiritual energy, and isn't far from the 3rd grade. It can be used to refine the third-grade devil-subduing pendant. Suppressing the Violet Palace Heart Devil Tribulation is just a piece of cake. Wang Daoyuan originally thought that it would be good if he could refine a third-grade magic tool. With the third-grade devil-subduing pendant, Violet Palace Realm cultivators would be immune to inner demons. This thing also had a very strong defensive effect against external demons attacking the heart. To Thunderflame, refining a third-grade magic tool was just child's play. During the refining process, he also explained the refining techniques to Wang Daoyuan and the other two. In order to let the three of them learn more, he even slowed down. Even so, it only took him half a day to complete the demon-suppressing pendant. The demon-suppressing pendant didn't have any patterns carved on it, but it was densely packed with tool patterns. Venerable Lei Yan handed the demon-suppressing pendant to Wang Daoyuan. Apart from suppressing inner demons and resisting external demons attacking the heart, I also added spirit-gathering runes. It would automatically absorb water spiritual energy and metal spiritual energy, and condense them into ice spiritual energy. This function wasn't very powerful, and the possibility of it evolving wasn't too high. It could only replenish the daily wear and tear. After all, the demon-suppressing pendant's function mainly relied on the ice attribute's spiritual energy within the profound ice jade marrow. Once the ice spiritual energy was consumed too much, the quality of the mysterious ice chalcedony would decrease. If the ice spiritual energy was exhausted, it might lose its effect completely. Now that I have the spirit-gathering tool pattern, even if I run out of ice spiritual energy, as long as the tool pattern is not destroyed, I can slowly recover in an environment rich in ice, water and metal spiritual energy. Wang Daoyuan took the demon-suppressing pendant. The current demon-suppressing pendant was no longer as dense as the profound ice jade marrow. The surface didn't have any cold feeling, and it looked like an ordinary transparent crystal. Injecting spiritual energy into it, a cold aura seeped into his body, making him feel very calm and clear-headed. Wang Daoyuan continued to stay with Venerable Lei Yan, and Venerable Lei Yan did his best to teach him the art of refining. 7 years later, Wang Daoyuan was in the refining room, inscribing tool patterns on a sword embryo. 2 hours later, the tool pattern inscription was completed. He injected spiritual energy into it, and a sword ray flew out, slashing at a huge rock, leaving a 2-inch deep mark. Venerable Lei Yan's spiritual sense swept over, and he smiled. The sword ray can leave a 2-inch deep mark on the sword testing rock. It's undoubtedly an intermediate grade 3rd tier magic tool. Your perception is indeed extraordinary, and you can already refine intermediate grade 3rd tier magic tools. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "It's all thanks to Master's teachings. In the past, I didn't have anyone to teach me, so I was stuck at the upper grade 2nd tier for dozens of years. I only managed to break through to the lower grade 3rd tier because of someone's guidance." Venerable Lei Yan waved his hand and said, "Don't be so humble. I've taught many people, but none of them can match your speed. I've taught Zhao Liang for dozens of years, but he's only at the edge of becoming a 3rd tier blacksmith. Dao Invisibility's talent is also pretty good, and I've been teaching him for over 80 years, but he's only at the lower grade 3rd tier. But it's a pity that you can't stay here for long. Otherwise, I can guarantee that your refining technique will reach the 4th tier within 50 years. You've been here for over 10 years, so aren't you a little anxious? You've also copied down the inheritances left behind by the ancestors. I've also taught you the techniques that should be taught to you. The rest will depend on your own hard work. You've learned a lot, but don't neglect the art of refining. Once one reached the Zifu realm, the most important means of dealing with enemies would be the prime magic artifact. If you want to make your natal artifact stronger in the future, you'll need to have a high level of proficiency in the art of refining." Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "I'll follow Master's teachings." Venerable Lei Yan waved his hand and said, "There's no need for that. Dao Invisibility and Liang can leave first. I still have something to tell Daoyuan." The two left the cave, and Venerable Lei Yan opened the cave's restriction and said, "In the past few years, apart from teaching the three of you how to refine artifacts, I've also found some information about ancient cultivators with spiritual fires. I've also found some clues. What you need are spiritual fires of the metal and fire attributes. There's very little mention of ancient cultivators with metal attribute spiritual fires in the sect's records, so I'm not sure where their cave residences are. However, there's a cultivator with fire attribute spiritual fires, and I found the approximate location of his death. His name is True Monarch 100 Spirits, and he's a character from about 20,000 years ago. True Monarch 100 Spirits' temperament is somewhat similar to yours. He also likes to collect all kinds of spiritual beasts and spiritual plants, and he's raised many spiritual beasts with divine beast bloodlines. The saying that the cloud-winged tiger was not an ordinary creature also came from him. Among the spiritual beasts he's raised, there's a scarlet-feathered crow that's said to have the bloodline of the golden crow. Its natal spiritual fire contains a trace of the power of the true sun flame. True Monarch 100 Spirits use the scarlet-feathered crow's natal spiritual fire to condense a spiritual fire called the true sun flame. The true sun flame is said to be able to melt anything, and True Monarch 100 Spirits relied on it to make a name for himself. He also has another nickname, Alchemy and Artifact Master. He's very skilled in both artifact refining and pill refining, and he's considered one of the top figures of his time. The heaven-burning divine flame technique you learned was created by him. However, it's an incomplete technique that was passed down outside, and a Zifu realm cultivator obtained it and modified it a bit, resulting in its current state. In his later years, he roamed the sky-beheading mountain range in search of high-grade spiritual beasts that can help him advance further on the path of the Tao. In the records, his last appearance was at the lower reaches of the Myriad River. Thus, I'm guessing that he died in the sky-beheading mountain range in the eastern region of the state of Zhao. If you can find where he died, you'll have a high chance of obtaining the true sun flame. True Monarch 100 Spirits is the only one I can determine the approximate location of his death. He likes to collect all kinds of strange spiritual beasts and spiritual plants. You can use this as a clue to find where he died. Metal-type spiritual fire needs to be found in high-grade metal-type spiritual veins or veins. High-grade spiritual veins have long been occupied by powerful factions, and you won't be able to obtain a metal-type spiritual fire. However, there are many grade 4 spiritual veins in the southern wilderness. Furthermore, most of them are ownerless. Although the spiritual energy in the southern wilderness is violent, it won't be a problem if you have a spiritual fire. In the entire Beiyuan Xueqi, only the southern wilderness or some unknown mystic realms can find metal-type spiritual fire. There are many ferocious beasts and demonic cultivators there, and there are occasionally grade 3 or 4 demons. Your cultivation isn't high enough yet, so it's best if you reach the late-stage Zifu realm before traveling to the southern wilderness. Chapter 413. Wang Daoyuan pondered for a long time. The place where True Monarch 100 Spirit passed away was very likely within the sky-beheading mountain range in the east of Qingli County and Linchuan County. Of course, True Monarch 100 Spirit could also pass through the sky-beheading mountain range along the sky-beheading mountain range and head towards Linhai County in search of fortuitous opportunities. Even if he went to Linhai County in search of fortuitous opportunities, it was unlikely that he would bring all the spirit beasts and spirit plants with him. He had raised many spirit plants and spirit beasts, so he had to have a place to raise them. Unless True Monarch 100 Spirit passed away outside while searching for fortuitous opportunities. Otherwise, his place of death should be west of the sky-beheading mountain range. Even if he passed away outside, his cave abode couldn't have been moved away, so it was still worth searching for. It was hard to say if they could find the Red Yang primordial fire, but if they could find the cave abode where he raised spirit plants and spirit beasts, it would be a huge profit. However, the range given by Taoist Lei Yan was still too big. From the north of Qingli County to the south of Linchuan County, there was still a distance of 40 to 50,000 miles. The outer boundary of the sky-beheading mountain range wasn't fixed. For example, the 100 River Lake was 8 to 9,000 miles west of the main mountain range. And at the eastern end of the Wild Goose Mountain Range, the outer boundary of the sky-beheading mountain range was the narrowest, about 2,000 miles. It was easier said than done to find a cave abode in such a large range. Wang Daoyuan sighed. This range isn't small either. I'll try to find it. It'll be best if I can find it, but if not, I'll have to go deep underground and look for the earth fire. Taoist Lei Yan smiled. If it was someone else, they might not have any hope, but not you. On the day of the hidden Tao Purple Mansion ceremony, that old man Heaven Seer secretly used the aura viewing technique to see your luck. Although he hid it well, he couldn't hide it from my divine sense. That old man had seen the luck of a half-step Yuanian cultivator before, but he wasn't as shocked as he was. Therefore, your luck is definitely stronger than that of a half-step Yuanian cultivator. Prosperous luck doesn't mean that you'll have great achievements, but your luck will definitely be especially good. It's not easy for an ordinary peak golden core cultivator to obtain a spirit fire. There are many records of ancient cultivators recorded in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. There are many cultivators who have spirit fires, but at most, they have 3 types of spirit fires. As for you, you are only at the early Zifu disciple level, but you already have 3 types of spirit fire. It's not impossible to find all the 5 element spiritual fires in the future. As soon as he finished speaking, he took out a 3rd grade mid-grade flying kite and said, "This is a flying magic tool that I refined for you. It's called the Firestorm Flying Kite. Your flying kite is quite interesting, so I didn't modify its outer appearance. I only made some adjustments to the tool patterns and materials. This flying kite was made from blood fire hibiscus, and the 2 wings were fused with wind attribute materials. Using it to fly, he didn't need to inject more spiritual energy into it. He could fly for more than 5,000 miles in 2 hours. If he increased the input of spiritual power, he could fly 6,000 miles in 2 hours at the fastest. With this item, no cultivator below the Golden Core realm would be able to catch up to you. Most rank 3 demon birds only had this speed. I also added a special rune on the flying kite. Once activated, it can execute the rank 3 flying fire escape. The flying fire escape art was extremely fast, but it could only travel about 1 mile at a time, so it wasn't very useful for traveling. If it was used for a sneak attack or to evade an opponent's attack, it would definitely be successful. You have to be careful when using it. If you use it while flying at high speed, the magic tool and your body might not be able to withstand it. This thing was just refined, so I didn't know how many times it could withstand the flying fire escape art. You have to think about it yourself." Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "Master, I'll be leaving now. Please take care of yourself. If I'm lucky enough to find the earth essence, I might have to trouble you to refine the Kirin seal for me." Master Lei Yan waved his hand and said, "Go. Cultivate well and try to form your golden core as soon as possible." Wang Daoyuan left the cave and used the white tiger blade to cut off a thumb-sized blood-fire hibiscus branch and stored it in his storage pouch. As Master Lei Yan's disciple, no one said anything about him cutting off a branch. Wang Daoyin drove the flying boat and sent Wang Daoyuan, Zhao Liang, and Wang Daoshu out of the mountain gate. Wang Mingting had stayed here for 10 years and had long reached the age where his spiritual roots were tested. 5 years ago, he was tested to have a fire spiritual root of 7 inches and 8 parts. Moreover, he had 2 spiritual roots. His talent was much stronger than Zhao Liang's. His other spiritual root was the wood spiritual root. This kind of talent was very suitable for refining pills and equipment. With Master Lei Yan, the top equipment refiner in Beiyuan Xiuxian, he was naturally the most suitable for refining equipment. Now that he had become Wang Daoyin's disciple and joined the Divine Weapon Pavilion, he stayed at the Treasure Cauldron Mountain to cultivate. The little guy was already 15 years old, so there was nothing to worry about. Zhao Liang only brought his soul lamp back so that he could be recorded in the Wang family's genealogy. Wang Daoyuan and the other 2 arrived at the Divine Weapon Pavilion's mountain gate and boarded the flying boat to return to Clear Glass City. After leaving the Divine Weapon Pavilion, Wang Daoyuan stored the storage pouch containing the blood fire hibiscus branch into the spiritual pearl space. There were only peak foundation establishment cultivators on the flying boat, so he was not afraid of being discovered. His clone cut off a few sprouts on the branch and planted them near the life spiritual fire together with the old branch. Whether they could survive or not would depend on their luck. More than 20 days later, Wang Daoyuan and the other 2 arrived at the Divine Weapon Pavilion's shop in Clear Glass City. Not long after landing, he received a message from the 12th uncle, asking him to go back and refine the foundation establishment pill. There was also a treasure to give him. This meant that he had killed a rank 3 demonic beast. Other than its demonic core, there were probably other valuable things on the demonic beast. Wang Daoyuan immediately rode his sword back to Jade Spring Peak. The 12th uncle was already waiting for him outside. Seeing Wang Daoyuan return, he hurriedly said, "You're finally back. If you delay any longer, I'm afraid that the good stuff won't be able to be used." Hearing him say this, Wang Daoyuan's curiosity was piqued. What good stuff is so delicate? The 12th uncle smiled but did not answer. He brought him into the secret treasury under the ancestral temple. After entering the treasury, there were even more items inside. The last time he came in with Taigong, there were only some refining materials and magic tools left. Now, there were a few more shelves. On them were some rank 3 spiritual herbs, pills, talismans, and formation discs. 12th uncle took out a jade box that was about a foot long from a wooden shelf. Then, after spending a long time, he finally opened the jade box. Inside was a foot-long emerald green feather. There were no gorgeous patterns on it, but it contained dense wood attribute spiritual energy, far surpassing that of ordinary demonic beast feathers. Wang Daoyuan asked somewhat excitedly, "This is the life feather of a rank 3 demonic beast? It's not easy for an early-stage Zifu realm cultivator to kill a demonic beast." The 12th uncle smiled proudly. "Who am I? Isn't killing a rank 3 low-grade emerald green sparrow like child's play?" Wang Daoyuan immediately closed the jade box and stored it in the spirit pearl space, using the life spirit fire to nourish it. This life feather had lost a lot of spiritual energy, so it could barely maintain its rank 3 low-grade. It was a bit difficult to refine the vermilion bird fan with a rank 3 low-grade life feather. Previously, he could refine the vermilion bird fan with ordinary materials. Now, it was not a problem to refine it with a rank 3 low-grade life feather. It was just that the power might not reach the expected effect, which was a matter of nurturing it for a while. Using the life spirit fire to nourish the wood attribute life feather was very suitable. After dealing with the life feather, Wang Daoyuan asked, "So, there are already rank 3 demonic beasts eyeing Fallen Dragon Ridge?" The 12th uncle nodded and said, "Yes, this happened more than 2 years ago. This emerald green sparrow ate a few rank 1 black cloud wolves, which alarmed Big Black. Big Black warned the clansmen guarding there, and the clansmen guarding there were very decisive. They immediately controlled the formation to protect the clan's property. This emerald green sparrow's attack power was not strong, so it could not break through the rank 2 high-grade defensive formation in a short time. 5th uncle and I rushed over to help. This would attribute demonic beast's fighting power was very weak. It could not even break through my water dragon prison, and 5th uncle and I killed it together." Chapter 4:14. Wang Daoyuan had almost forgotten about the water dragon prison spell. Among his family's water attribute spells, the only one he frequently used was the cloud mist escape. After all, his cultivation technique wasn't the art of overturn the sea, so the water dragon technique wasn't that powerful. Moreover, it was too iconic. Once he used the water dragon technique, anyone with a bit of knowledge would know that it was an inheritance of the Wang family. It wasn't good for concealing his identity. As for the water dragon prison that came with the water dragon technique, he had only used it a few times when he cleaned up Jade Spine Mountain. He didn't expect the 12th uncle's water dragon prison to be able to trap demonic beasts of the same rank. In the future, he could also put in more effort in the water dragon prison. To refine the vermilion bird fan, he needed 5 life plume feathers. Now, he only had 1 wood attribute life plume feather. In the future, he would have to capture 4 more demonic beasts. Demonic beasts' bodies weren't as tough as demonic beasts, but they were too agile. It was very difficult to kill them in one strike. To deal with demonic beasts, one either had to kill them instantly or use a reliable control spell. Killing them instantly might damage the life plume feather. The effective range of the demon subduing gourd was too small. The Kirin seal could smash the demonic beasts into meat paste. It was more reliable to use the water dragon prison. This time, he didn't argue with the 12th uncle. Demonic beasts with life plume feathers all have high-grade bloodlines. None of them are easy to deal with. To be able to use the water dragon prison to trap the emerald-feathered vermilion bird, his strength is already very strong among early-stage Zifu realm cultivators. The 12th uncle said proudly, "That goes without saying. When have I not been an expert among cultivators of the same rank?" After saying this, he took out a storage pouch and said, "The emerald-feathered vermilion bird's corpse and its demonic core are intact. I'll leave them to you. However, Dao Chang wants you to give pointers to the juniors when you're refining tools and pills. You often travel outside, so the family can't rely on you. It's time to nurture them." This wasn't a problem. It wouldn't take much effort to give pointers to the juniors when refining tools and pills. When the juniors grew up, he wouldn't have to care about the family's trifles anymore. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "That's not a problem. I'll go out and refine the building foundation, Dan. Let the second-rank alchemists in the Jade Spring Peak come and watch. I'll also teach them how to refine foundation establishment pills." Wang Daoyuan was a professional when it came to refining foundation establishment pills. Even the alchemists from the major forces did not refine as many pills as he did. The two of them left the secret treasury. Wang Daoyuan went directly to the alchemy room that was specially opened by the family. Currently, there were many cultivators in the clan, and there were also many clansmen who were engaged in the various arts of immortal cultivation. The alchemy, artifact, and talisman halls all had their own specialized offices on the Jade Spring Peak. The pill refining room was located on a piece of flat land halfway up the mountain. There was a red-scaled pine forest here, and the weapon refining workshop was also nearby. The alchemy room was very spacious. It took up an area of more than 1 mu and was divided into 5 alchemy rooms. At this time, there were more than a dozen alchemists busy in the alchemy room. When they saw Wang Daoyuan come in, the cultivators who were free immediately came forward to greet him. Wang Daoyuan instructed, "If you have any work to do, do it first. When you're all done, I'll start refining foundation establishment pills and give you some pointers while I'm at it. Especially Mingshan, you're a second-rank high-grade alchemist. You must have the ability to refine foundation establishment pills by yourself. This time you must learn well. When I'm not in the family, I'll leave the refining of foundation establishment pills to you." Everyone agreed in unison. Half an hour later, all the alchemists had finished their work on hand. Wang Daoyuan entered a pill refining room. 6 second-rank alchemists followed him. As for first-rank alchemists, it was still too early for them to learn this. Under Wang Daoyuan's guidance, Wang Mingshan tried to refine the essence of the crouching dragon vine. The other 5 alchemists refined the essence of other auxiliary herbs. After they were done, Wang Daoyuan personally refined the essence of the monster pill and the emerald green sparrow's blood essence. The Wang family now had more than 1,000 mu of spiritual fields. Among them, there were 200 to 300 mu of second-rank spiritual fields. These alchemists usually had plenty of spiritual herbs to practice with. Their skills in refining the essence of spiritual herbs were excellent, and they didn't make any mistakes. Then, Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to control the essence of the spiritual herbs they refined. While fusing the essence of the spiritual herbs, he also explained some things to pay attention to. These years, Wang Daoyuan learned refining from Lei Yan Zhenren. His divine sense had improved a lot, and his ability to control fire had improved a lot. While explaining to everyone, he refined pills at the same time. Multitasking, he still refined 9 foundation establishment pills. This shocked all the juniors, because during the process of refining spiritual herbs, there was bound to be a loss of medicinal properties. In addition, during the process of extracting the essence of spiritual herbs, it was impossible to do it perfectly. Refining 10 pills was simply impossible. Refining 9 pills in one furnace was already the limit. Moreover, it was an extremely rare situation. Everyone was proud that this feat had been accomplished with their participation. Wang Daoyuan left the pill refining room and returned to his cave residence. He continued to nurture his natal artifact, striving to refine the black tortoise shield to the point where it was connected to his mind as soon as possible. 2 months later, Yang Yong paid a visit to the Jade Spring Peak with 2 pieces of good news. The first piece of good news was that Elder Jean had passed away. 2 months ago, Elder Jean felt that his life was coming to an end, so he came to the Heaven/Mountain Range and killed a 3rd-grade demonic beast. After that, he asked the Vice Hall Master of the Netherworld Sex Pellet Hall to refine the Foundation Establishment pills. In the end, Elder Jean returned to the Jean clan with 5 Foundation Establishment pills and passed away a few days later. The leader of the foreign faction had passed away. Even in terms of Violet Palace realm cultivators, the foreign faction still held the advantage. But most of the foreign faction's elders were at least 400 years old. As for the elders of the Jean clan, most of them were at the prime of their lives under 300 years old. At most, it would take another 40 to 50 years for the Jean clan to hold the absolute advantage. The second piece of good news was that Yang Yong would be promoted to the Netherworld Sex Refining Hall as a manager. Being transferred to the sect was naturally a promotion. The empty position of Qingli City's guardian was also a lucrative one. But none of the elders in the Netherworld sect were willing to take up a post here. There was no other reason, but the Wang clan was too powerful. If they were to send someone else over, they would have to look at the Wang clan's face. Wang Daoyuan's identity was special, so no one dared to treat him as an elder without any duties. They would have to seek his opinion on anything. No one was willing to come to the Emerald City to be a wife who was bullied. In the end, the position of the Emerald City's guardian fell to Wang Jian, the fifth great-uncle. It had been 60 to 70 years since Wang Jian established the Violet Palace realm. Among the elders with no duties, this was one of the more junior ones. He had picked up a great opportunity to be the guardian of the Emerald City. For the Wang clan, these two matters could be considered as double happiness coming at the same time. After Yang Yong passed on the two pieces of news, Wang Jian cupped his hands together. Congratulations to Senior Yang for your promotion. Yang Yong sighed. Don't tease me. I'm already over 470 years old, and I only have 20-odd years left to live. My cultivation has been stuck in the mid-stage Violet Palace realm. So what if I'm the manager of the refining hall? I won't live long. I'll leave the affairs of the Emerald City to you. Over at my Yang clan's side, Yulin has already reached peak foundation establishment. After accumulating for a few more years, he can attempt to establish the Violet Palace. After I leave the Emerald City, I'll have to trouble you to take care of me. I hope that before I close my eyes, I can see Yulin establishing the Violet Palace. Wang Daoyuan consoled, Cousin Yulin's talent is pretty good. Establishing the Violet Palace isn't an issue. Old ancestor Yang can rest assured on this point. When he establishes the Violet Palace, I'll definitely go and stand guard. What Yang Yong was afraid of was that Yang Yulin was unable to establish the Violet Palace before he passed away. Now that he had Wang Daoyuan's guarantee, he also set his mind at ease. Yang Yong nodded his head in relief. With Daoyuan's words, I also don't have anything to worry about. Jian, you taking over the appointment of the Emerald City's guardian of the Emerald City will come down very soon. You make the preparations and complete the handover with me as soon as possible. Chapter 4:15. After speaking, Yang Yong left Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan and the other two escorted him out of the mountain. Afterwards, the three Zifu disciples of the Wang clan, in addition to the patriarch, began to discuss their future development plans. Patriarch Wang Daochong was the first to speak. Elder Jin has passed away, and the decline of the foreign branch is imminent. Fifth great-uncle has also become the guardian of Clear Glass City. Our Wang clan situation is very good. Should we continue to expand our business, or should we postpone it for a while? The clan currently has sufficient resources, and uncle and brother-in-law can also forge flying boats. With the addition of the newly trained second-rank formation masters and artificers, we should be able to forge a 20-meter-long flying boat in a year or so. If we expand at full strength, in a few decades, our Wang clan's business will cover the entire Netherworld sect's territory. The 12th uncle pondered for a moment, then said, I feel that it's best to postpone it for a while. With the clan's current situation, relying on business to expand no longer has much meaning. Our annual income far exceeds the clan's needs. No matter how many spirit stones we have, we can't give them all to our clansmen at once. Without the support of a Jin Dan cultivator, no matter how large our business becomes, we'll only be a Zifu disciple clan. In addition, the more ostentatious we are, the easier it is for us to be suppressed. Wang Daoyuan continued, the native branch is also on guard against our Wang clan. It's not convenient for me to divulge the specifics. However, you must know that the sect master is not at ease with our Wang clan. This can be considered the attitude of the entire native branch. Right now, the situation within the Netherworld sect is very delicate. 60% of the Zifu disciples are of the native branch, 30% are of the foreign branch, and 10% are of the clan. 60% of the foundation establishment cultivators are of the clan, 30% are of the native branch, and 10% are of the foreign branch. In the next 100 years, the majority of the foreign branch's Zifu disciples will pass away. At that time, the clan will completely suppress the foreign branch. If this trend continues, 200 years later, the clan will have an advantage among the Zifu disciples and suppress the native branch. 400 or 500 years later, the clan will also have an advantage among the Jin Dan cultivators. If this continues, the native branch will be replaced by our clan. The native branch won't just stand by and watch us seize power step by step. The clan has operated in the Netherworld sect for too long and has a deep foundation. The sect is still counting on us to work hard, so they won't completely suppress us. They will only take care of those who jump the highest. With Elder Jin's death, Our Wang clan will be the only subordinate power of the Netherworld sect to have 3 Zifu disciples. Although we're still at the early Zifu stage, we all have the potential to form our Jindan, and we have the potential to threaten the status of the native faction. If they continue to expand, they would definitely be suppressed by the Netherworld sect. In my opinion, we should stop here. For the time being, don't expand your business. Manage the central and northern parts of Qingli County well. You can also increase your investment in the northern part of Haiyang County. If they had the energy to spare, they would transfer more of their clansmen to the mystic realm. If you want to continue expanding, you'll have to wait for a golden core cultivator to appear in the clan. Wang Daochong nodded. Our family still has a surplus of over 100,000 spirit stones every year. Even if we don't expand our business, we can still guarantee that we won't have any financial problems for the next 100 years. If we continue to transfer cultivators to the mystic realm and share the burden of the clan, it won't be a problem for us to maintain our current finances for another 200 years. Fifth great uncle smiled and said, 200 years is enough. I don't have much hope of forming my golden core. However, Shui and Daoyuan both have great hopes. After 200 years, the clan will have 2 golden core cultivators. When that time comes, our Wang family won't have anything to fear in the Netherworld sect. Wang Daochong smiled and said, if that's the case, then we'll properly develop Fallen Dragon Ridge. We'll wait for 12th uncle and 7th brother to form their golden cores before we expand. 5th great uncle was about to take over the position of Qingli City's guardian, and he wouldn't have the time to modify his life-bound magic artifact. Wang Daoyuan asked, 5th great uncle, have you finished modifying your life-bound magic artifact? I've learned some methods of modifying life-bound magic artifacts from Master. If you haven't finished modifying it, I can help. 5th great uncle smiled and said, I haven't wasted the past few decades. It's already been modified. After saying this, he summoned a long sword. The sword's body didn't change much, but the carving on it changed into a light blue dragonfish. 5th great uncle had nurtured this life-bound flying sword quite well. It was much more effective than the profound dragon sea-flipping sword. He continued, dragonfish and black dragon belong to the same lineage, so the difference is very small. There aren't many places that need to be modified, so there's no need to refine it. This sword is now called Fish Dragon Sword, and it's much more powerful than before. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, if that's the case, then I don't have anything to worry about. In the future, I need to look for materials to refine my life-bound magic artifact, so I can't stay in the family for long. However, I won't go too far. I'll just stay within the Sky Beheading Mountain range. If there's anything, just send me a message. After handing over some matters, he left Jade Spring Peak and headed for Fallen Dragon Ridge. The range given by Lei Yen Zhenren was too large. First, he released the soul-chasing bees to search around Fallen Dragon Ridge to see if there were any exotic flowers or rare beasts. After a few months of searching around Fallen Dragon Ridge, he still couldn't find anything. Zhou Wan sent another message, saying that she had found important information that Wang Daoyuan was interested in. She told Wang Daoyuan to bring what she wanted to the Northern Mountain Branch. Previously, he had asked her to find an ancient cultivator's cave residence with a spiritual fire. Now that she had sent a message, it was most likely that she had accurate information. Wang Daoyuan felt the spiritual fire beckoning to him. He immediately changed into the God Restriction Cloak and flew to Returning Goose Market on his sword. After entering the branch and returning to the Vice Hall Master's cave residence, he called over his doppelganger Mou and Jackdaw. After putting on a show, he used Shadow Escape to head for Zhou Wan's cave residence. After entering the cave residence, he found that Zhou Wan wasn't in front of him. The door to her room was open. Wang Daoyuan asked, Hallmaster, what important information do you have for me? Will you come out, or should I enter your room? Zhou Wan chuckled and said, I found the location of True Monarch 100 Spirits cave residence. Do you dare to come in for a chat? Upon hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was stunned. True Monarch 100 Spirits cave residence, which he had always dreamed of, had been discovered just like that. When she came to her senses, she entered Zhou Wan's room without saying a word. Inside was a garden that covered an area of more than 3 acres, planted with all kinds of exotic flowers and plants. There was even a spring in which some ornamental spiritual fish were raised, including a few clear river carps. Walking along a small path among the flowers, Xueqi was still dressed thriftily. She was lying on a recliner, holding a handful of pine nuts from the red scale pine. Wang Daoyuan immediately activated the exorcism pendant and suppressed his qi and blood. Is this your room? Why does it look like an imperial garden to me? Also, can you change your clothes? Looking at you like this, my mind is full of legs. I don't have the heart to talk about anything else. Xueqi glanced at him with her phoenix eyes. Who was it that said, if you don't have a woman in your heart, magic is naturally divine? Haven't you always been called a gentleman? You can't control yourself anymore? Wang Daoyuan replied without blushing. My heart is a gentleman. It's just that my eyes and brain have their own thoughts and don't listen to me. Xueqi disdainfully said. A lecherous person dares to call himself a gentleman. His face is really thick. If you want to know where true Monarch 100 Spirits Cave residence is, then take out what I want. This time, Wang Daoyuan was a bit embarrassed. Xueqi wanted the purple rhythm pill, but he didn't have it on hand. The newly planted purple rhythm dragon ginseng hadn't matured yet. It would take more than 10 years before it could be used to refine pills. He could only smile and say, Hallmaster, this little one doesn't have a ready-made purple rhythm pill. Can I use something else to compensate? Xueqi turned around, lying on her side on the recliner, and asked with a faint smile, Then let's see what you can take out to compensate me. Chapter 4:16. Wang Daoyuan used all his strength to activate the Imperial Magic Pendant. A cool feeling entered his body, but his heart was calm. Spiritual Master Lei Yan was indeed the top blacksmith in Beiyuan Xiuxian. The effect of the Imperial Magic Pendant that he refined was really good. He looked at Xueqi and teased, Don't you feel uncomfortable wearing such a thin shirt? Xueqi was stunned. She immediately reacted and threw the pine nuts in her hand to him. Wang Daoyuan cast the water dragon technique, condensing a dozen or so small water dragons that were about a foot long, catching all the pine nuts. The water dragons combined into one that was more than 10 feet long. The 2 dragon claws obediently held the pine nuts and placed them back in Xueqi's hand. Xueqi's anger turned into joy. If your old ancestor knew that you used his water dragon technique to pick up pine nuts for me, he would be so angry that he would come back to life. Wang Daoyuan smiled apologetically and said, I did all this for the sake of the family's prosperity. Old ancestor can understand me. Furthermore, I'm still using the Imperial Magic Pendant that Master refined for me to suppress my blood and qi. This is called making the best use of everything. I can't take out the purple rhythm pill for now. The purple rhythm dragon pattern ginseng is still young and can only be used after 10 years. How about I use the dragon heart fruit and inky jade lotus seed as compensation? The dragon heart fruit can increase blood and inky jade lotus can increase divine sense. Adding them together, it's not much different from the purple rhythm pill. Although the dragon heart fruit and inky jade lotus were good and worth more than the purple rhythm pill, they didn't have the effect of increasing one's cultivation speed. Xueqi stared at him with narrowed eyes and asked, Didn't you say that you don't have any more lotus seeds? From your tone, it seems that you still have a lot of inky jade lotus seeds. You should have found a place to grow inky jade lotus. Is it the secret realm at the Mirror Treasure Lake? Wang Daoyuan quickly denied. The secret realm there can't grow inky jade lotus. There are a lot of refined corpses there. Yu Lang controlled the refined corpses there and killed a lot of people. Although Yu Lang is dead, there are still rank 4 refined corpses in the secret realm. If the tier 4 refined corpse was alerted, those below the golden core stage would not be able to escape. Even I don't dare to go there, so you shouldn't take the risk. Are you worried about me? Of course, I'm counting on you to live off a woman. If something happens to you, who am I going to look for? Xueqi sat up from the reclining chair, looking like a money grubber, and said, This time, I spent a lot of effort to find out about true Lord 100 Spirit's abode. Even intelligence records from more than 20,000 years ago had been dug up. The price had to be raised. 100 lotus seeds, 300 dragon heart fruits, 500 jars of spirit peach dew, and double the amount of dried meat and pine nuts. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan's face fell. Hallmaster, even if you squeeze me dry, I won't be able to take out so many things. Why don't you just sell me to you? I know alchemy, tools, and talisman arrays. I can kill demonic beasts and warm your bed. I should be worth the price you mentioned. Xueqi spat. Who wants you to warm their bed? How much can you take out? Wang Daoyuan smiled. 20 lotus seeds, 50 dragonheart fruits, 100 jars of spirit peach dew, and double the amount of dried meat and pine nuts. I see that your natal magic tool is not compatible with the Purple Mansion's anomaly. Do you want me to help you modify it? Xueqi was shocked. You can modify natal magic tools? Wang Daoyuan said proudly. I'm Lei Yan Zhenren's disciple. What's so special about modifying my natal magic tool? Now, can you tell me where True Lord Hundred Spirits' abode is? I suddenly thought of Hundred Spirits Mountain. This name seems to be related to True Lord Hundred Spirits. It can't be there, right? Xueqi smiled. You're half right. Hundred Spirits Mountain and True Lord Hundred Spirits are indeed related. Back then, True Lord Hundred Spirits used to refine pills and tools there. That's how Hundred Spirits Mountain got its name. As for the abode, would you put it there? Wang Daoyuan shook his head. That place is located at the center of water transportation. It's okay to open up a business there, but it's too noisy to use it as a abode. Hallmaster, where is True Lord Hundred Spirits' abode? Can you tell me? Xueqi stretched out a hand. If you want to buy information, give it to me. Wang Daoyuan sighed. How come I didn't know you were such a money grubber? I'm a gentleman, how can I go back on my word? After saying that, he took out a few storage bags and walked over to give them to her. Xueqi took the storage bags and checked them. After finding that there were no problems, she smiled. You've been smart all your life, but you're stupid now. Where did you catch that fat tiger of yours? And where did you get the hidden cloud tea that you always drink? Don't you know? Back then, True Lord Hundred Spirits liked to raise some strange spirit beasts. The Yun tiger was a rare variant, and the hidden cloud tea was also very strange. It was exactly what True Lord Hundred Spirits liked. Wang Daoyuan couldn't believe it. You're talking about Hundred Rivers Lake? The highest level spirit vein there is only third level low-grade spirit vein. Xueqi shook her head and sighed. You really don't understand. Back then, there were many Yuanying cultivators. Now, the highest level cultivators can reach is half-step Yuanying. When the upper limit of a cultivator's cultivation level is lowered, it's not strange for the spirit vein's grade to change. Back then, True Lord Hundred Spirits often moved around Hundred Rivers Lake. He also frequented a canyon a few hundred miles east of Hundred Rivers Lake. When True Lord Hundred Spirits was old, the Hallmaster of the Blood Shadow Azure Branch was a golden core cultivator. He once discovered that there was a heavenly tribulation around Hundred Rivers Lake. At that time, dark clouds covered an area of 1,000 miles and contained a terrifying power. Even Yuanying's heavenly tribulation couldn't compare to it. However, the heavenly tribulation didn't fall in the end. Instead, it silently dissipated. After that, True Lord Hundred Spirits never appeared again. That Hallmaster guessed that True Lord Hundred Spirits might have forcefully broken through to the soul formation realm when his lifespan was nearing its end. He should have been close to success, but the heavenly tribulation didn't fall in the end. If he failed to break through, he must have been seriously injured. True Lord Hundred Spirits couldn't have run elsewhere. In addition, his cave abode should be around Hundred Rivers Lake. It's basically certain that he died in the Hundred Rivers Lake. After hearing so much information, Wang Daoyuan fell into deep thought. He hadn't thought about Hundred Rivers Lake before, but now that he thought about it, it really was possible. In particular, Xueqi also mentioned the canyon a few hundred miles east of Hundred Rivers Lake. That was where Wang Daoyuan discovered the secret realm and obtained the Fire of Life. There were many corpses of high-level demon beasts in the secret realm, as well as the dead wood of high-level spirit plants. At that time he found it strange. It was a secret realm and it wasn't easy to connect to the outside world. Even if he had spirit plant seeds and entered by chance, he would only get some commonly seen spirit plants in the surroundings. How could there be so many different types of spirit plants living in different environments? At that time, he casually looked at a few stage 1 spirit plants and found the snow country grass, a spirit medicine that grew near the extreme frost ice plains. Now that he thought about it, it was likely True Lord Hundred Spirits Herb Garden and Spirit Beast Garden. The peach tree was the core of the secret realm. It should have been refined by True Lord Hundred Spirits. At that time, he guessed that the secret realm might have suffered a great calamity. All kinds of high-level spirit plants and spirit beasts died one after another. Even the peach tree was on the verge of death and condensed the fire of life to save itself. After the calamity, the spirit chi hadn't recovered and no more high-level spirit plants grew in the secret realm. The place with no spirit chi outside the secret realm was also caused by the peach tree absorbing a large amount of spirit chi in order to save itself. Now that he thought about it, the calamity should have been caused by True Lord Hundred Spirit's death, causing the core of the secret realm to be damaged. Just like the Five Elements mystic realm, the Five Elements perfected being's death caused the spirit chi of the mystic realm to decrease greatly. However, the Five Elements heaven suppression seal wasn't as weak as the peach tree. It only fell into a deep slumber and wasn't damaged. The Five Elements mystic realm didn't have much of a problem. At that moment, Wang Daoyuan even had thoughts of killing himself. Back then, he stabbed blindly with a broken sword and destroyed the core of the mystic realm that was struggling on the verge of death, causing the entire mystic realm to collapse. That was the herb garden of a Yuanying cultivator. Even if the high-level spirit plants died, their seeds could be preserved for a long time. There were definitely seeds left behind in the soil. There should be quite a number of stage 4 and stage 5 spirit herb seeds. If the mystic realm wasn't destroyed, with those spirit herb seeds, he wouldn't need to search for spirit herbs to cultivate to Yuanying. Chapter 4:17. Zhou looked at Wang Daoyuan's hopeless expression, somewhat puzzled. What's wrong with you? Knowing the location of the 100 Spirit Supreme's cave, why are you not the least bit happy, but instead like you've suffered a great loss? Wang Daoyuan shook his head. It's inevitable that there will be regrets in life, but this regret is too great. I'm going to the 100 Spirit Supreme's cave to make up for my regret. As for helping you modify your life source artifact, wait for me to come back. Zhou did not understand what he meant, and could only remind him. The place where a Yuanying cultivator died, there will definitely be many dangers. You must be careful, I'll wait for you to come back, to help me modify my life source artifact. Wang Daoyuan laughed lightly. Don't worry, I have great fortune. No one can take away my little life. Saying this, he left Zhou cave. Leaving the wild goose market, he headed towards the southeast, finding a mountain stream that flowed towards the south. He used the mist escape, following the stream downstream. Not long after, he entered the clear glass river. He did not return to the Jade Spring Peak, but used the mist escape, heading towards the 100 Rivers Lake. Using the mist escape in the water for a long time, he could maintain a speed of 2,000 miles per hour. At the same time, he also used the aura concealment technique, concealing his tracks. Cultivators whose divine sense was not much stronger than his would not be able to discover him. In the north of the Clear Glass County, there was no such person. 4 hours later, he arrived at the 100 Rivers Lake. There were many islands in the 100 Rivers Lake. Apart from the Green Willow Island that he was familiar with, there was also the Flood Dragon Island, Black Turtle Island, Deer Island, and the most mysterious Hidden Cloud Island. Apart from the Hidden Cloud Island on the other islands, there were more or less cultivators residing there. The Green Willow Island was the most lively place in the entire 100 Rivers Lake. Since Wang Daoyuan left the Green Willow Island when he was at the peak of the Qi disciple stage, more than 100 years had passed. In these years, the number of wandering cultivators around the 100 Rivers Lake increased day by day. When he left, there were already more than 50,000 people. It was hard to say how many people there were now, but the number of spirit boats coming and going on the lake was 2 to 3 times the number in the past. According to this ratio, the number of rogue cultivators in the entire 100 Rivers Lake should be more than 100,000. The 9th Prince's bloodline had gathered so many cultivators and secretly developed for more than 100 years. It was hard to say how much strength they had now. However, he was here to look for true monarch 100 Spirit's abode, not to cause trouble for Green Willow Province. The 3 sects did not have any internal strife. Even if Lu Liuzhou had hidden their strength, they did not dare to make a move for now. If he wanted to find the cave abode of true Lord 100 Spirits, he would not be able to find it in the Jiao Dragon Island or any of the other islands. This was because these islands had long become a place for rogue cultivators to hunt and kill demonic beasts. The number of rogue cultivators in the 100 Rivers Lake had skyrocketed. Before he left, many cave abodes had been opened up on these islands. Even the demonic beasts had been slaughtered. There was nothing out of the ordinary on these islands. However, The willow tree on the Green Willow Island was definitely suspicious. It had grown on a rank 3 spirit vein for who knew how many years. Such a huge tree that covered the sky was actually an unranked spirit plant. The 9th prince's bloodline was hidden in the 100 Rivers Lake area, so it was most likely hidden in the Green Willow Island. The 9th prince himself was a golden core stage cultivator. If he fell into his hands, even if he was spared for the sake of the old ancestor, he would still have to work like a horse in the future. Wang Daoyuan naturally would not court death, so he stayed far away from the Green Willow Island. The Hidden Cloud Island was the most mysterious. The mist that could conceal one's spiritual sense was quite extraordinary. However, the Hidden Cloud tea could only survive in the Hidden Cloud Island. Only with the life spirit fire in the space of the spirit pearl could one plant survive. The Yuan-E tiger was an extremely rare spirit beast. The beast tamers of the Myriad Spirit sect had not been able to obtain it, but he had encountered it in the Hidden Cloud Island. The Hidden Cloud Island had these 3 strange occurrences. The 100 Spirits abode was most likely in the Hidden Cloud Island. He did not dare to show himself. As soon as he entered the 100 Rivers Lake, he went straight to the Hidden Cloud Island. Along the way, he encountered many aquatic monster beasts, but they were too slow. The highest grade was only 2nd order, which did not affect Wang Daoyuan. He soon arrived at the northwest corner of the Hidden Cloud Island. The last time he came here, he had followed Zhang Kong to pick the Hidden Cloud tea. Now, more than 100 years had passed, but the Hidden Cloud Island did not seem to have changed. Wang Daoyuan did not go ashore. Instead, he continued to walk along the river, going deeper into the Hidden Cloud Island. The mist here still had a strong spiritual sense shielding effect. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense could detect things more than 30 miles away. Here he could only detect about 100 feet. The Hidden Cloud Island only had 2nd order high-grade spirit veins, so it was unlikely for 3rd order monster beasts to lurk here. As for 2nd order monster beasts, they did not have the ability to sneak attack Wang Daoyuan. Using his spiritual sense to explore the surroundings, he followed the stream all the way to the depths of the Hidden Cloud Island. For Wang Daoyuan, it was too small. The deepest part was only a few dozen miles away from the edge. He only took a few dozen breaths to reach the source of the stream, which was also the center of the Hidden Cloud Island, the Hidden Cloud Peak. After going ashore, he immediately took out a Forbidden God cloak and put it on to avoid being targeted by the monster beasts here. Although 2nd order monster beasts were not strong, being entangled by them was still a big problem. The Hidden Cloud Peak was only 4,000 feet high, which was nothing for a Foundation establishment cultivator. Just to be on the safe side, he released the soul-chasing bees to explore the way. Unfortunately, after the soul-chasing bees were released, they did not listen to Wang Daoyuan's orders and did not fly far away. It seemed that their ability to search for spiritual objects was also limited by the mist. In desperation, he could only put away the soul-chasing bees and slowly find the location of the immortal cave. After searching for half a cup of tea's time, a fiery red sword light attacked him. Wang Daoyuan's mind moved, and the white tiger blade automatically flew out, blocking the sword light's attack. His heart sank. There was a cultivator guarding here, and it was a Zifu realm cultivator. Could it be that the matter of true monarch 100 spirits immortal cave had been leaked? He angrily shouted, "Which scoundrel dares to fight me head-on?" An old voice replied, "Little friend Wang's talent is extraordinary. In a head-on battle, this old man is not a match for him. This old man has no intention of making things difficult for Dao Yu. I am only following orders to guard this place. As long as little friend Wang is willing to leave, this old man will not stop him." This person recognized him, but he could not figure out who this person was. Although he could not find the other party with his divine sense, he was not willing to be beaten passively. He used the spirit concealment technique and wrapped the Forbidden God cloak tightly around his body. Then, he used the cloud mist escape to escape in the direction of the sword light. After escaping for several li, he still could not find the other party's trace. The old voice sounded again. "Little friend Wang is indeed very skilled. You can actually hide from this old man's detection. Unfortunately, this old man has already sent a message to ask for help. In half a cup of tea's time, help will arrive. This old man can't take down Dao Yu, but once help arrives, that may not be the case." Although he could not use his divine sense to lock onto the opponent, he could distinguish the approximate location by listening to the sound. Before the old man's voice fell, Wang Daoyuan had already summoned the white tiger blade and used the myriad sword art in the direction of the sound. He also quickly used the cloud mist escape to escape in the direction of the sound. As he got closer, his divine sense found a trace of fire spiritual energy fluctuations. He immediately controlled dozens of long sword phantoms to attack the place where the fire spiritual energy fluctuations came from. That person was forced into a corner and no longer dodged. A fierce fire spiritual energy fluctuation came. The old man said sternly, "Since little friend Wang is determined to be my enemy, then this old man will not be polite." A fire phoenix phantom more than 50 meters long appeared. The phoenix flapped its wings and shattered all the long sword phantoms. Wang Daoyuan saw this person's appearance clearly. "Senior Shizhenbang, why aren't you playing dead?" After saying that, the white tiger blade in his hand condensed a giant sword phantom more than 300 meters long. Chapter 4:18. Wang Daoyuan's giant sword slashed down, and Shizhenbang's phoenix phantom came up to meet it. His phoenix phantom was about the same as Zhou Wan's. Of course, it was far inferior when compared to the crimson wand that was condensed from the resonance of Zhou Wan's violet palace. Even so, it could be seen that Shizhenbang was far stronger than ordinary cultivators of the same level. The phoenix phantom didn't have much spiritual energy left after being slashed into two. Shizhenbang was very cautious. He didn't choose to take the sword's remaining energy head-on. Instead, he turned into a shooting star and fled a mile away. This was none other than the flying star escape he had used to fight Xueqi for the Foundation Establishment Pill. Wang Daoyuan chased after him again, and Shizhenbang also used the flying star escape technique to escape. He even tried to persuade Wang Daoyuan, "Little friend Wang is a genius, so why are you willing to serve an evil sect like the Netherworld sect? Why don't you support the royal family and help His Majesty rebuild the world? When His Majesty clears the world, he might even be crowned as king." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "What? Even the Shi family recognizes the long-legged prince as emperor? Although the 9th prince lost in the end, it wasn't his fault. The long-legged prince fled without a fight, and the Shi family is willing to recognize that trash as their master?" As Wang Daoyuan spoke, his hands did not stop either. He continuously slashed out sword lights, attacking Shizhenbang. After all, Shizhenbang was a veteran Violet Palace disciple and had the foundation of a golden core family. He wasn't weak, and he easily resolved Wang Daoyuan's sword. He replied with ease, "Little friend Wang, since you have no intention of abandoning the dark for the light, there's no need to say anything more. Long-legged. His Majesty is the late Emperor's 6th son, and it's natural for him to inherit the throne. Marquis Yuchuan was also a subject of the Zhao family and saved His Majesty's life. His Majesty also remembers his contributions and wants to reward the Wang family in the future. Marquis Yuchuan was loyal to the Zhao family all his life, and he died in the hands of a rebel. Little friend has the potential to reach the Golden Core realm, so why don't you think of taking revenge for your ancestor? If Marquis Yuchuan's spirit is in the heavens, I'm afraid he will also blame his little friend." Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, "Isn't this nonsense? If I had the ability to take revenge, would I need you to tell me? Putting aside the vengeance of my ancestors, just the fact that Luo Joyo tricked me with a 5 elements devil subduing seal combination secret technique is enough for me to kill him. He was forced to make a living in the Netherworld sect." He said mockingly, "What a nice way to put it. You should know where the 3 major sects are. Why don't you go there? You've been holed up in Green Willow Province for hundreds of years, and you still have the nerve to criticize me?" Shizhenbang was rendered speechless by his words and could only fight in silence. The Shi family had passed down many powerful spells. The moves of the Beiyuan sword sect were not of much use to him. Although his spells were mainly of the fire attribute and could be countered by the divine flames burning the heavens technique, he was still able to control them. However, his helpers could arrive at any moment, so there was no time to waste with him. Wang Daoyuan directly used the Earth Divine Lightning to attack Shizhenbang. He had already formally taken Adept Thunderflame as his master. Learning the Earth Divine Lightning was no big deal. He had already used it when sparring with Kuei Jian at the Treasured Cauldron Mountain. There was no need to hide it. Although he had only trained the Earth Divine Lightning to the 4th level, he was still able to heavily injure Shizhenbang. In particular, the Earth Divine Lightning was extremely fast. It would not be easy to dodge. Seeing him use the Earth Divine Lightning, Shi Zhenbang no longer used the meteor evasion to dodge. After all, a Zifu disciple's body was still under a great deal of pressure when flying through the air. If Wang Daoyuan used the Earth Divine Lightning 3 times per breath, how many times could he dodge? He took out a round shield that was red and yellow in color. Infusing it with his spiritual energy, an illusory shield that was more than 10 meters in diameter appeared on the shield. When the Earth Divine Lightning struck, the illusory shield only trembled slightly. This was a high-grade level 3 magic artifact. A Midzifu disciple using a high-grade level 3 magic artifact would have no problem unleashing its full power. However, the consumption of spiritual energy would be a bit high. To break the illusory shield, it would take at least 20 Earth Divine Lightning strikes. Moreover, Shi Zhenbang could continuously infuse spiritual energy into the shield to replenish it. Even if he used the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique and used all his feather blades, he might be able to break the shield, but he would not be able to heavily injure Shi Zhenbang. If he had other high-grade level 3 magic artifacts, Wang Daoyuan would be wasting his energy. Unless he used the 5 elements Devil Smiting Seal and fused it with the White Tiger Blade and the Black Tortoise Shield, he would be able to kill him in one move. Otherwise, he would have to fight a battle of attrition. If this continued, Wang Daoyuan would definitely win. However, his reinforcements could arrive at any time. They might have already arrived and were lying in ambush. Wang Daoyuan did not dare to use up all his spiritual energy to kill him in an instant. Besides, Wang Daoyuan still wanted to maintain a relationship with the 9th Prince's bloodline and leave a way out for his family. If he killed Shi Zhenbang, the relationship between the Wang clan and the 9th Prince's bloodline would be completely severed. Wang Daoyuan probed, "Senior Shi, I only wanted to see if there was any level 3 cloud tea here. I didn't mean to offend you. Please do me a favor and let me pick some cloud tea before leaving." Shi Zhenbang smiled. "Little friend Wang's request is not excessive, but every blade of grass and every tree here belongs to His Majesty. If little friend Wang is willing to turn over a new leaf, not to mention a level 3 cloud tea, even the entire hidden cloud continent would not be out of the question for Dao Yu." Wang Daoyuan had a bad feeling. The people of the Green Willow continent might already know about the 100-spirit true monarch. The Green Willow continent had cooperated with the Wang clan for many years and wanted to rope them in. If they did not know about the 100-spirit true monarch, Shi Zhenbang would not have refused Wang Daoyuan's request to pick some tea leaves. Thinking of this, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to stay any longer. The 100-spirit true monarch was a peak Yuanian cultivator who had almost reached the spirit-severing stage. Moreover, he liked to collect spiritual plants and spiritual beasts. There might be many high-grade spiritual herbs in his cave residence. For the people of the Green Willow continent who wanted to cause trouble, this was the capital to cause trouble. If they knew about the 100-spirit true monarch, they would definitely have many arrangements here. If he continued to stay here, his life might be in danger. Wang Daoyuan knew that the 100-spirit true monarch's herb garden was gone, but the others did not. In this way, there was no hope of secretly investigating the 100-spirit true monarch's cave residence. He did not have the strength to force his way in, and there might be a golden core cultivator hidden in the Green Willow continent. If he caused trouble and provoked them, he would not be able to protect his life. At this time, he could only escape and think of a countermeasure later. Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Since that's the case, I won't stay any longer. When my cultivation improves, I'll come visit again." With that, he flew into the sky on his sword and headed west. At this time, there was a flying boat about 10 miles northwest of the Green Willow continent. Wang Daoyuan scanned with his spiritual sense and found that there were 5 Violet Palace Realm cultivators on the boat. To be able to send out 5 Violet Palace Realm cultivators, the 9th Prince's faction was not weak. The flying boat was also very fast, flying over 4,000 miles in 2 hours. Wang Daoyuan could not escape on his sword, so he could only use the flaming wind kite to escape. He urged the kite to fly with all his strength, and its speed quickly reached 6,000 miles in 2 hours. Seeing that it could not catch up to him, the flying boat turned around and flew above the hidden cloud continent. A person came down from the flying boat and landed at the place where Wang Daoyuan and Shi Zhenbang had fought. The person cupped his hands towards Shi Zhenbang and said, "Big brother, how strong is this Wang clan kid? Did he find anything?" Shi Zhenbang sighed. "The younger generation will surpass us in time. I didn't expect that a Qi Refinement Junior 100 years ago would have the ability to kill me now. If you didn't come in time, I would have been defeated. This kid probably already knows about the 100-spirit true monarch. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come here to look for the hidden cloud tea. Right. Did you find anything? Did you find any clues in the ancient books? The person shook his head. Nothing. The ancient books only record that the 100-spirit true monarch often moved around the 100-river lake in his later years. If the 100-spirit true monarch's cave residence is here, then it's most likely the hidden cloud continent. We've already searched everywhere else, but we didn't find anything. Did you find any clues here? Shi Zhenbong shook his head. Nothing. Chapter 419. After Wang Daoyuan left the 100-river lake to the west, he put away the firestorm kite and hid himself. From the south of Clear Glass City, he took a big detour and returned to Jade Spring Peak. He stayed in his cave abode to think of a solution. It wasn't easy to find the approximate location of True Lord 100 Spirit's cave abode, but it was ruined by the people of Oasis. In order to deal with him, they sent 6 Zifu realm cultivators. In addition, there might be a golden core cultivator. With Wang Daoyuan's ability and the Wang family's foundation, he couldn't compete with them. But when he saw that the thing he urgently needed was about to be taken by someone else, he felt indignant. Since he couldn't deal with Oasis, he would find someone who could. For example, the 3 great sects could deal with Oasis. Oasis had been pretending to be obedient for so many years because they were afraid that the 3 great sects would pay too much attention to them. As long as he spread the news and led the 3 great sects in, the people of Oasis wouldn't dare to stop them. If the 3 great sects found out that Oasis had sent 6 Zifu realm cultivators to deal with Wang Daoyuan, there might be a golden core cultivator hiding in the dark. They had to flatten Oasis even if they had to sacrifice a few golden core cultivators. Otherwise, if the Zhao family rose from the ashes, they would all die. However, it wouldn't be good for the Wang family if this matter was exposed to the 3 great sections. After the 3 great sects wiped out the remaining forces of the Zhao family, there would be internal strife soon. The Wang family would also be affected. Therefore, it was better to leave the remaining forces of the Zhao family alive and let the 3 great sects have some scruples. Since he decided to fish in troubled waters, as the weakest side, he would definitely want the waters to be as muddy as possible. Only bringing in the 3 great sects would make the waters murky enough. It was best to spread the news further and make it more sensational, involving the people of the 4 great factions. To spread this news, he couldn't rely on himself. He would have to rely on a woman again. After thinking of a countermeasure, Wang Daoyuan took a detour from Fallen Dragon Ridge and returned to Guiyan City, Bloodshadow's underground branch. Then, he stealthily went to Zhou Wan's cave abode. Zhou Wan was pleasantly surprised to see him come back after only a little more than a day. She asked, "Did you already succeed and come back to modify my magic tool?" "It's only been a little more than a day. Is it so easy to explore the abode of a peak ancient cultivator in Yuanying?" Wang Daoyuan laughed and said, "1 day apart feels like 3 autumns. We haven't seen each other for 3 years. Didn't I miss the hall master? That's why I came back." Zhou Wan glanced at him. "You've been gone for more than 10 years. According to your calculations, we haven't seen each other for thousands of years. You didn't say anything about coming back to see me. Now, do you have something difficult to ask of me? Just tell me. As long as the price is right, I can help." Wang Daoyuan sighed and replied, "Hallmaster, I am your most loyal subordinate. When I went to the 100 Rivers Lake to investigate the hidden cloud continent, I was ganged up on by 6 Zifu disciples. I almost lost my chance to see the Hallmaster." After saying this, he wiped his eyes. Unfortunately, there were no tears. Zhou Wan's face was full of disdain. "What sort of outrageous thing did you do to anger 6 Zifu disciples at once? Look at how lively you are. It doesn't seem like you almost didn't make it back. Tell me, how do you want to harm the cultivators of the Green Willow continent?" Wang Daoyuan laughed and said, "Hallmaster is truly exceptionally intelligent. You've even seen through this. However, I really didn't start this. I was just casually looking around the hidden cloud continent when Zifu disciples came to make trouble for me. They probably already know about the 100 Spirits Immortals abode, but they haven't found the entrance yet. That's why they sent people to guard the hidden cloud continent. There should be quite a few Zifu disciples hidden in the Green Willow continent. It's very possible that there are Jindan cultivators as well. How can I fight them all by myself? That's why I wanted to spread the news and lure other powers in. I'll fish in troubled waters. I'm weak, so the more powers I attract, the better. It'll be best if I can drag the 4 powers into this mess. I don't have the ability to spread so much news in such a short period of time. Hallmaster, don't you have specialized cultivators under you who specialize in this kind of work? I want to ask for your help. Xueqi pondered for a while before saying, it's not hard to spread the news. It's also not hard to make the 4 powers involved. The Divine Weapon Pavilion has shops in all the major cities. Just spread the news and they'll know. The Wind Snow Deity Palace and Archaic Mysteries sect are also not weak. I'll let people spread the news in the western cities. These 2 sects will soon receive the news. Only the people from the Tai Sword sect don't pay much attention to the situation here. They might find out later. However, you have to think carefully. The abode of a peak Yuanying cultivator. Even the 4 top powers value it greatly. There might be Jindan cultivators involved. At that time, it'll be difficult for you to snatch the spiritual fire. Maybe you'll even lose your life. 20,000 years have already passed. The Scarlet Yang primordial fire might have already been extinguished. How about I help you find the abodes of other ancient cultivators with spiritual fires for free? You'd better not have any ideas about the Scarlet Yang primordial fire. Wang Daoyuan laughed. Where can I find a spiritual fire without danger? There will be many demonic beasts near a natural spiritual fire. I've always been afraid of death. I won't risk my life for a spiritual fire. If it's really impossible, I won't make a move. Master knows that I'm looking for the abode of the 100 spirits true lord. After he gets the news, he'll definitely come. With him here, those Jindan cultivators will have some misgivings. They won't be so shameless as to attack a Zifu realm cultivator like me. Xueqi nodded and said, with Taoist Lei Yan here, your little life can be saved. Since you want to take this risk, I'll help you for free. You must come back alive. Wang Daoyuan replied with a smile. Don't worry, Hallmaster. My flood of fortune is not a joke. That year, that little fortune teller Xian Jiuxiao said that my luck is comparable to a half-step Yuanying. I won't die so easily. That little fortune teller has some ability. That year, he said that I would have a romantic calamity. In the end, I almost died in your hands before I could open my Zifu. I'll go wait for the news. Goodbye. He left the returning goose market and returned to the Jade Spring Peak. He quietly waited for the news to spread. 10 days later, the clan's Dark Hall received news in the Clear Glass Market. There was a Yuanying cultivator abode in the 100 Rivers Lakes hidden cloud continent. Moreover, this Yuanying was the famous 100 Spirits true lord from 20,000 years ago. His abode might have 5th-tier spiritual medicines, as well as 5th-tier alchemy and equipment forging inheritances. This news spread with great detail. Even the records of ancient cultivators from 20,000 years ago were pulled out. This news should have been spread by Xueqi's men. Afterwards, this news changed its meaning in the loose cultivators' mouths. The more it spread, the more bizarre it became. It was also said that in 100 Spirits True Lord's abode, there was a Yuanying breakthrough or even a deity transformation breakthrough. That year, before 100 Spirits True Lord passed away, the matter of him attracting tribulation clouds was also revealed. Wang Daoyuan's Yun-Yi tiger was also brought out by some loose cultivators. In the Clear Glass Market, no one dared to gossip about Wang Daoyuan. Now, 5th great-uncle had already taken over as the guardian of the Clear Glass Market. Since such news came out of the Clear Glass Market, he naturally had to report it to the Netherworld sect. Very quickly, the Netherworld sect sent Elder Zhou to investigate. In the end, they found that the news first came from the Xianin market to the north of the Huiyan mountain. It was said that a Foundation establishment loose cultivator accidentally found the travel notes of ancient cultivators. It recorded that before 100 Spirits True Lord passed away, he attracted a thundercloud with a diameter of 1,000 miles. Afterwards, the news spread widely in the northern part of the mountain. The news in the Clear Glass Market also came from the returning Goose Market. It was only because the Clear Glass Market was close to the location of the incident that the news spread more fiercely. Elder Zhou specifically asked Wang Daoyuan about the Yun-Yi tiger. Wang Daoyuan directly admitted that he had obtained it in the Hidden Cloud continent when he was traveling in his early years. No one could control cultivators when they traveled around, not to mention that the Heavenly/Mountain Range was an ownerless land. Chapter 420. The Netherworld sect only had a few thousand years of history, and had never produced a Yuanian cultivator before. Therefore, a power like the Netherworld sect valued the inheritance of the 100 Spirits' true lord even more. After Xueqi investigated and obtained evidence from Wang Daoyuan, he was even more convinced of this rumor. He reported his judgment to Luo Jiuyo, who sent Sect Master Gu and several Zifu realm cultivators to the Clear Glass Market to confirm the authenticity of the rumor. Sect Master Gu was a golden core seedling nurtured by the Netherworld sect. Their Grand Elder, the Nethersea Daoist, was nearing the end of his lifespan and the sect needed to nurture another golden core. After he formed his golden core, it was very likely that he would be promoted to Vice Sect Master and become a candidate for the next Sect Master. At this time, some of the Grand Elders in the sect had already begun to focus on nurturing him. Since Sect Master Gu had come personally, the 3 Zifu realm cultivators of the Wang clan naturally had to go to the Clear Glass Market to welcome him. When the group of Zifu realm cultivators arrived at the meeting hall of the Netherworld sect, Sect Master Gu was very curious and asked Wang Daoyuan, "I heard from Xueqi that your Yun-Yi tiger was found in the Hidden Cloud continent. That means you have some understanding of the Hidden Cloud continent. Tell us about the situation there." Wang Daoyuan replied, "When I was still at the Qi condensation stage, I traveled around the 100 Rivers Lake. I met a rogue cultivator who claimed that he knew of the Hidden Cloud tea growing in a secluded area at the edge of the Hidden Cloud continent and invited me to pick it together. I also wanted to earn some spirit stones, so I let him go. When I arrived at the Hidden Cloud continent, I did indeed find the Hidden Cloud tea in a cave. But that person wanted to kill me for the treasure and was killed by me. During the battle, I broke a stone wall. Behind the wall was the lair of a Yun-Yi tiger. The mother tiger was severely injured and on the verge of death, so I took in the cub. In the midst of the Hidden Cloud continent, the spiritual sense of a Qi condensation cultivator can only reach up to 30 meters away. When I entered the Hidden Cloud continent, I went to the secluded area to pick the Hidden Cloud tea. I didn't dare to go to the depths. The cave where he picked the Hidden Cloud tea was impossible to hide. Once a large number of Zifu realm cultivators entered the island, they would be quickly discovered. Rather than explaining it later, it was better to say it now. Hall Master Gu continued to ask, "Do you think there might be 100 spirits immortals abode there?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "I'm not sure about that. Although the Hidden Cloud continent is special, its spirit veins are not of a high grade." Palace Master Gu smiled and said, 20,000 years have passed, and the grade of the spirit veins will also change. Why don't you take a few Violet Palace elders with you and go investigate?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "The island is shrouded in clouds and mist, which will affect the range of the divine sense. If there is a third-ranked demonic beast hidden within, even a Violet Mansion elder would be unable to avoid death. Moreover, true Monarch 100 Spirits abode was not easy to find. Otherwise, it would not have remained undiscovered for 20,000 years. It was difficult to find anything in the fog. It was said that every year on the 9th day of the 9th month, the clouds on the Hidden Cloud continent would dissipate. The 9th day of the 9th month was different from other days. Perhaps it had something to do with the cave. At that time, the success rate will be higher and the danger will be lower." The other powers had not yet arrived, and he had not yet achieved his goal of fishing in troubled waters. Naturally, he would delay as long as he could. Palace Master Gu thought for a moment and said, "What you say makes sense. If the cave was so easy to find, it would not have remained until now. Risking the loss of manpower to fight for a slim hope was indeed not worth it. It is already the beginning of the 8th month. Waiting for another month won't hurt." A few days later, the Myriad Spirit Sect and the Crescent Sun Palace requested to pass through Clear Glass County to investigate the Hidden Cloud continent. The Underworld Sect naturally did not agree. This was inviting a wolf into one's house. This matter spread more and more, and even the nearby Wei and Song kingdoms requested to pass through. After another 10 days, Adept Thunderflame led 2 Zifu disciples to the Clear Glass Market. One of the 2 Violet Palace disciples was Wang Daoyin. The other was a Violet Palace disciple that Wang Daoyuan did not recognize. The four major powers did not need the permission of the local powers to enter the territories of other countries. Now that Adept Thunderflame had arrived, Palace Master Gu could only go forward and greet him, not daring to have any objections. The four of them greeted Wang Daoyuan, then went to the Drunken Immortal Inn of the Wang clan. A day later, Adept Nethersea of the Underworld sect arrived at Clear Glass City as well. With foreign Jindan cultivators arriving, the Underworld sect naturally had to send cultivators of the same level to receive them. 2 days later, the Archaic sect and the Snow Wind Deity Palace arrived as well. The Archaic sect sent Adept Skyser, who brought Xian Zhouxiao and another Violet Palace disciple. The Snow Wind Deity Palace sent Adept Ning Shuang, who brought 3 Violet Palace disciples. Due to Zhao Qingshuang's special status, she did not come. Seeing that Adept Thunderflame was staying at the Drunken Immortal Inn, they followed. 2 days later, the Tai Sword sect arrived. It was Adept Dark Thunder, who brought Kuei Jian and another Violet Palace disciple. As the saying went, birds of a feather flocked together. The cultivators of the other 3 major powers all stayed at the Drunken Immortal Inn. The Tai Sword sect naturally stayed with the other 3 major powers as well. A small Drunken Immortal Inn of the Wang clan had gathered the golden core cultivators of the 4 major powers of Beiyuan Xiuxian. The imperial family of Zhou and the imperial family of Qin quickly sent people over as well. Zhou and Qin were first-rate countries second only to the 4 major powers, so the Underworld sect naturally did not dare to stop them. At this time, the Myriad Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace were anxious. If this continued, the meat would be divided and they would not even be able to get the soup. The Myriad Spirit sect directly said that if they did not allow them to enter, they would let all the other powers in. The Underworld sect did not dare to stop them. If the Myriad Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace really let the other powers in, then the Underworld sect would have to face dozens of golden core powers alone. In the end, the Underworld sect compromised and allowed the 2 sects to send 1 golden core cultivator and 2 Violet Palace disciple to enter. In exchange, the 2 sects had to strictly guard the border and not let the other powers in. In the blink of an eye, it was the 8th day of the 9th month. Tomorrow was the best time to enter the Hidden Cloud continent. The various powers were also discussing the allocation of quotas. Naturally, golden core cultivators could not casually enter. The Hidden Cloud continent was also the periphery of the Heaven/Mountain range. If they alarmed the 4th-ranked demonic beasts, it might lead to a beast tide. Furthermore, golden core cultivators were also afraid of death. No one wanted to risk their lives. After discussing, they decided that each power would only be allowed 2 cultivators to enter. As the host, the Underworld sect could send 4 Violet Palace disciple. The peak and late-stage Violet Palace disciple were all golden core seedlings of the various sections. They were unwilling to lose them here. There were precedents for this situation. Once a secret realm or a high-grade ancient cultivator's cave residence was discovered, the various powers would send several early-stage and mid-stage Violet Palace disciple cultivators in. The golden core cultivators of the various powers would also bring 2 or 3 Violet Palace disciple cultivators. On the Underworld sect side, Wang Daoyuan was familiar with the Hidden Cloud continent and was strong enough. Naturally, he was within the 4 quotas. Apart from him, there was also Luo Hongming, who had just established his Violet Palace disciple, Zhou Qi, and Lu Jinhui. Wang Daoyuan knew all 3 of them. He had interacted with Luo Hongming and Zhou Qi many times. He was also acquainted with Lu Jinhui. Back in the Carriage Gorge, Lu Jinhui was the Golden Goose City's guardian and the deputy commander. The upper echelons of the Underworld sect did not play any tricks this time and sent 3 native cultivators. Furthermore, Wang Daoyuan was close to the native cultivators, so there were no internal conflicts. The Hidden Cloud continent was where the 100-spirit True Lord had passed away. It was very likely that he had left behind his legacy. To inherit the legacy of an ancient cultivator, one had to have high talent. Therefore, the cultivators sent by the various powers were all quite talented. The next morning, the sun rose over the Heaven/Mountain range and shone on the 100 Rivers Lake. The golden core cultivators stayed outside the Heaven/Mountain range and looked at the small patch of clouds in the lake. The clouds of the Hidden Cloud continent covered an area of 100 miles. Everyone was flying in the sky and could see it from thousands of miles away. At this moment, the clouds of the Hidden Cloud continent were gradually thinning under the sun. Chapter 421. Half an hour later, only a thin layer of clouds and mist remained. It could no longer cover the hidden cloud peak. Everyone could see the outline of Hidden Cloud Continent from thousands of miles away. As the host, Nethersea Master said, "Now that the clouds of Hidden Cloud Continent have mostly dissipated, it is the best time to explore 100 Spirit Immortals' cave. Why don't we let the young geniuses take action?" The other golden core cultivators had no objections. Nethersea Master took out a flying boat and handed it to Wang Daoyuan. "Daoyuan, you have been to Hidden Cloud Continent before, take care of Hongming and the others." Wang Daoyuan took the flying boat and cupped his hands. He injected spiritual energy into the flying boat, and it immediately became more than 200 feet long and 6 or 7 feet wide. Everyone boarded the boat, and Wang Daoyuan controlled it to fly towards Hidden Cloud Continent. This flying boat was a third-grade upper grade, and its speed could reach more than 5,000 miles in 2 hours. Half an hour later, everyone arrived above Hidden Cloud Continent. On this day in the past, a large number of chi refining cultivators would come here to pick Hidden Cloud tea. Today, not a single one came, and even the spirit boats that usually came and went were gone. Everyone got off the flying boat and landed beside Hidden Cloud Peak. Lei Wudao and a middle-stage Zifu realm cultivator came from the Cruel Sun Palace. This middle-stage Zifu realm cultivator walked the path of body refinement, and it seemed that he was not to be trifled with. This person asked Wang Daoyuan bluntly, "Wang family's kid, I heard that you found Hidden Cloud Tea and Yunyi Tiger here. That place should be unusual. Take us there." The others also showed an interested expression. Wang Daoyuan had already expected this, so he didn't say anything and led everyone to the small hill where the Hidden Cloud Tea was. Wang Daoyuan pointed at a huge rock and said, "The entrance to the cave is between the rock and the mountain. I sealed it 100 years ago." With a wave of his kuei sword, a sword light slashed out, and the entrance to the cave was exposed. Everyone was secretly amazed. To be able to slash out sword light without using a sword, this was a big step on the path of man and sword one. When everyone entered the cave, Wang Daoyuan said, "This is where I picked the Hidden Cloud Tea." The middle Zifu disciple of the Crescent Sun Palace saw the 2 stalks of cloud-hide tea and wanted to take one of them. Just as he was about to make a move, Wang Daoyuan advised, "There is not much Hidden Cloud Tea left, and it will not survive even if we transplant it elsewhere. It doesn't matter if this Dao Yu wants to pick some tea leaves, but don't make a mistake." There was anger on his face, but he didn't say anything. Then, he walked to the stone wall that had been broken and repaired by Wang Daoyuan. He punched a hole in the wall and walked in. Everyone followed closely behind him. He looked at the tombstone and smashed it with his palm. He laughed and said, "The Wang family's brat is really soft-hearted. He obtained the Yunyi tiger's corpse when he's only at qi condensation, and he still hasn't taken it out to sell." The expressions of the 2 female Zifu disciples of the Wind Snow Deity Palace changed slightly, and they glanced at him. This guy also spoke without thinking. He found trouble with Wang Daoyuan and offended 2 female cultivators. Wang Daoyuan smiled and asked the 2,000 Spirit Sect cultivators, "How does the 1,000 Spirit Sect deal with this situation?" Wang Daoyuan had fought side by side with the 1,000 Spirit Sect, and the 2,000 Spirit Sect cultivators had a good impression of him. They laughed and said, "The disciples of the 1,000 Spirit Sect see spirit beasts as brothers. If we decide to adopt a young spirit beast, we will naturally treat its parents well." Daoyu's actions are similar to the usual practice of the 1,000 Spirit Sect. As for people who destroy the tombstone, we usually leave them with their last breath. The Crescent Sun Palace cultivator said disdainfully, "You're making a big fuss over nothing." Before Wang Daoyuan could say anything, Kuei Jian couldn't help but say, "Since coming to the island, you've been mocking and ridiculing Dao Yu. I can't stand it. If you say any more nonsense, I'll chop you alive." The others also looked at him with disgust. He still wanted to flare up, but Lei Wudao saw that the situation was not right and quickly advised, "Senior Marshal Brother 2, the overall situation is more important." Cultivator 2 was somewhat dissatisfied, but he didn't say anything. Wang Daoyuan continued, "This place is only so big, and it can't hide from Daoyu's divine sense. Since you didn't find anything, don't waste time here." No one had any objections and left the cave the way they came. Daoyu used the Earth Mountain technique to seal the cave. The group returned to the foot of the Hidden Cloud Peak. Zhou Jingyuan, who represented the Zhou imperial family, asked, Dao Yu, you've been here before. Did you find anything? Wang Daoyuan replied. The last time I came was more than 100 years ago. At that time, I was still a qi refinement cultivator. I was picking hidden cloud tea in the stone cave and didn't go deeper. Dao Yu, let's show off our abilities. After saying that, he took out the spirit-seeking compass. This was something he refined when he was looking for the Gui water death flame. It could explore 5,000 feet underground. The rocks here had been soaked in clouds for many years and had the effect of blocking divine sense. Using divine sense to explore, one could only go 100 feet underground. The other cultivators also took out all kinds of magic tools and explored the ground and the hidden cloud peak. To a Zifu disciple, the hidden cloud continent wasn't much of a place. After 2 hours of searching, they had found nothing. A female cultivator from the Wind Snow Deity Palace smiled. Xian Dao Yu, your archaic mysteries sect is good at finding spirit veins. This matter depends on you. After saying that, Xian Jiuxiao took out a compass and handed it to a middle-stage Zifu realm cultivator of the archaic mysteries sect. He said with a smile, Granduncle prepared a magic tool for me. I think it should be able to find something. Senior Martial Brother Tian, my cultivation is not enough. I'll leave it to you. This compass should also be a spirit-seeking compass, but it was a high-grade 3rd-level magic tool. It was much stronger than Wang Daoyuan's low-grade 2nd-level magic tool. Cultivator Tian took the compass and poured his divine sense and spiritual power into it. After a few breaths, the compass shone brightly. Strands of golden light seeped into the ground. After half a cup of tea's time, the light returned to the surface and formed a golden shadow above the compass. Xian Jiuxiao looked at the golden shadow and explained, the shadow shows the situation of the entire hidden cloud continent. The deepest part of the continent is 80,000 feet underground. The rocks and soil are shown in gold. The underground cave and rock cracks are shown in black. The fiery red part below is the magma. The purple part is the spirit vein. Wang Daoyuan carefully observed the shadow. He saw that the golden part of the shadow had many black cracks. But at 50,000 feet underground, the golden color was very complete. There were no cracks. Wang Daoyuan, in order to obtain the Gui water death flame, had dug for 10 years. Naturally, he knew that the deeper he went, the more cracks there would be. It was impossible to find a large piece of rock without cracks. Wang Daoyuan pointed at the golden shadow and said, Xian Dao Yu, as far as I know, there are many cracks in the underground rock. There is actually a large piece of rock below. There must be something strange. Perhaps there is something underground that is interfering with the compass. Everyone stared at the compass. Xian Jiuxiao nodded and said, what fellow Taoist Wang said makes sense. There are a lot of cracks in the rocks above. It's impossible for the ground below to be intact. There must be some method to interfere with the compass. But there is no way for us to go down 50,000 feet underground. The shadow also doesn't show any passage. Everyone carefully observed the shadow, looking for a possible passage. But they didn't find any that led to 50,000 feet underground. The 100 Spirits true monarch couldn't have gone underground, right? Even the Yuanian cultivators couldn't withstand the pressure of 50,000 feet underground. Wang Daoyuan looked at the purple spirit vein. This spirit vein extended from the depths of the earth all the way to Hidden Cloud Peak. He pondered and said, this spirit vein goes straight underground. I wonder if it is a passage. The cultivator surnamed two of the Cruel Sun Palace couldn't hold back and shouted, stop being so wishy-washy. If you suspect there is a problem, just smash it open. We have 20 Zifu disciples. We can flatten this Hidden Cloud Peak in less than the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. This time, no one refuted him. He flew on his sword to the top of the mountain and condensed an enormous fist shadow, smashing down towards the top of the mountain. This fist was powerful and heavy. It shouldn't be a problem for it to smash the top of the mountain. In the end, it only shattered a few rocks on the top of the mountain. The mountain was unharmed. Chapter 422. The rocks of Hidden Cloud Peak weren't made of any special materials. They were all common rocks that contained some spiritual energy. A Qi refinement cultivator's attack could shatter some of these rocks. As for the Zifu realm cultivator surnamed Tu, he couldn't even damage the mountain with his full strength. There was no doubt that there was something strange about this mountain. It was very likely that there was a passage hidden inside. Everyone flew to the top of the mountain and carefully examined it to see what was unusual about it. The other cultivators also tested the strength of the mountain and then gave up. The cultivator from the Divine Weapon Pavilion who came with Wang Daoyin condensed a ball of flame in his hand and began to burn the mountain. Wang Daoyuan used the heaven-burning divine flame technique to help. After dozens of breaths, the mountain was intact. He waved his hand and said, "Junior brother Wang, you don't need to help anymore. I've already determined the situation of this mountain. It's not because of some formation. This mountain has been refined into a magic tool. Moreover, it's at least a high-grade 4th-stage magic tool." Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They were all successors of large factions and had seen high-grade 4th-stage magic tools before. However, no one had seen an entire mountain being refined into a high-grade 4th-stage magic tool. Although Hidden Cloud Peak wasn't very tall, it was still a mountain. To be able to refine an entire mountain into a magic tool, what kind of immortal method was this? Kuei Jian cupped his hands and asked, "Dao Yu Lu, do you have a way to go in?" Senior brother Lu shook his head and said, "A 4th-stage magic tool with such a large body is not something we can move." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "With this 4th-stage magic tool here, we can be sure that the 100 Spirits True Lord's cave is here. He can't lift the mountain every time he returns to his cave. There must be an entrance around this mountain. Shen Dao Yu, we'll have to rely on you." Shen Jiuxiao didn't say anything and took out another compass. This compass was black and white. It was unknown what material it was made of, but it seemed to be a life-bound magic tool. Zhou Jingyuan looked at the compass and exclaimed, "Yin Yang compass. Shen Daoyu's talent is amazing." The cultivators from the 4 great powers were shocked. Wang Daoyuan and the disciples from the 3 sects of the state of Zhao were dumbfounded. They did not know what the Yin Yang Geo compass was. The Yin Yang compass in Shen Jiuxiao's hand emitted a black and white light that shone on the mountain. After that, Shen Jiuxiao's eyes turned purple as he carefully observed the entire mountain. In the eyes of Wang Daoyuan and the others, the mountain was still the same. A dozen breaths later, Shen Jiuxiao put away the compass and closed his eyes. He was a little unsteady on his feet. He sat down cross-legged and extended a hand to Wang Daoyuan. "Dao Yu, give me a jar of spirit peach dew. I've used up too much energy and need to recover." Wang Daoyuan handed him a jar of 80-year-old wine. Shen Jiuxiao swallowed a pill and finished the jar of wine. After half a cup of tea's time, he stood up and said, "Wang Dao, you guessed correctly. The spirit vein inside has indeed been hollowed out and turned into a passageway. The inner walls of the passageway are all 4th-rank high-grade magic tools, and they are refined very carefully. No escape technique can be used. There is an entrance at the foot of the mountain, but I don't know how to open it. Everyone Dao Yu, clean up all the soil and gravel here and see if there is anything that can open the entrance." Wang Daoyuan and an earth attribute cultivator worked together and used earth attribute magic to clean up all the soil, gravel, and vegetation in the vicinity of the mountain. There were exposed rocks everywhere, but they didn't find anything out of the ordinary. Everyone was puzzled. It was soon noon, and the sun shone on the south side of Hidden Cloud Peak. There was nothing strange in the south side of the mountain, but on the rocky ground north of Hidden Cloud Peak, there were tiny grains of sand emitting sunlight. In the end, all the reflected sunlight just happened to gather on a rock north of the mountain, forming a fist-sized bright spot. This was definitely not a natural formation, but someone deliberately made it. There was no need for anyone to say anything. Everyone immediately showed their abilities and attacked the bright spot, but it was useless. Shen Jiuxiao smiled and said, "Everyone Dao Yu, don't hide your strength. Use your most powerful magic to attack the bright spot." Everyone used their own magic, and after they were ready, Shen Jiuxiao shouted, "Release!" 20 magic spells hit the bright spot together, and different magic spells hit the bright spot at the same time. Different attributes of spiritual power collided with each other, and there was a burst of explosion. After a few breaths, the whole mountain shook. Everyone immediately retreated, and their faces showed joy. After a while, a black hole of 10 square feet appeared directly under the bright spot. Everyone was still a little confused, and no one dared to go in first. A thick fog poured out of the black hole, which was the same kind of fog that had covered the whole hidden cloud continent before. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the hole to close?" After saying that, he took out the black tortoise shield to protect himself and walked in first. Wang Daoyin also followed closely behind. Senior brother Lu saw his two junior brothers go in and no longer hesitated. Luo Hongming and the others of the Netherworld sect also went in. The others didn't want to be the first to enter, and so they all fought to be the first to enter. After Wang Daoyuan entered the hole, he immediately slid down the jade-like tunnel. The walls of the tunnel were extremely hard and smooth, and he couldn't stop even if he wanted to. He wanted to use his flying sword to stop in midair, but unfortunately, there seemed to be a space ceiling formation here, making it impossible for him to fly. He gave up on struggling, and instead used all of his power to activate the black tortoise shield, sliding down the tunnel. The black hole outside was still pouring out fog, and soon, the entire island was once more covered by fog. Within an underground stone room in the Green Willow region, several Zifu disciples were gathered together. Shi Zhenbong checked the jade talisman in his hand, then sighed and said, "Our decades of hard work have all been for naught." The state of Xing sent a message, saying that the fog of the hidden cloud continent has reappeared. The fog should have only reappeared tonight, but it has already reappeared at noon. They should have already found the entrance to the estate. A young Zifu disciple asked, "Big brother, should we go take a look as well?" Shi Zhenbong shook his head and said, "No matter how many treasures there are in Adept 100 Spirits estate, we need to be alive to take them. If we expose our strength and attract the full force of the three great sects, we'll lose more than we gain." The young Zifu disciple asked again, "Wang Daoyuan really is willing to reveal the location of the estate. If we don't kill him, I won't be able to swallow this anger." Shi Zhenbong shook his head again. "The Wang clan still cares about our relationship, and didn't report our strength to the Netherworld sect. Otherwise, the Jindan cultivators of the Netherworld sect would have come long ago. Let's continue to lie low. Adept 100 Spirits estate isn't ours to begin with. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to get anything." Wang Daoyuan slid down the tunnel for half the time it took to brew a cup of tea, and the tunnel finally became flat. Soon, he slid to a flat area, but the flat area was still extremely smooth, and the force of his fall hadn't been completely dissipated. After sliding forward a bit more, the ground beneath him turned into grass. The fog here was even thicker. Even with his divine sense, he could only see 2 to 3 meters away, and his eyes could only see a few meters away. Wang Daoyuan quickly got up and carefully looked under his feet. There were all kinds of second-tier spiritual plants growing on the grass. He continued to explore forward, and encountered a withered tree along the way. His old habit resurfaced, and he took out the white tiger blade and lightly poked at the withered tree. The withered tree immediately turned to ashes. This was very likely a small medicine garden near the estate, and definitely not as big as the secret realm he destroyed. He didn't dare to poke blindly again, so as not to leave a lifetime of regret like last time in the secret realm. Learning from the previous lesson, the withered tree might be left behind after the death of a high-level spiritual plant, and there might be seeds around it. No matter whether or not he could find the Crimson Yang True Fire, he couldn't give up on these spiritual plant seeds. Divine sense was limited here, and finding seeds was very troublesome. He directly used an earth attribute technique, and lifted up the ground in a radius of 3 meters, and stored it in the space of the spiritual pearl. Chapter 423. In the space of the spirit pearl, the doppelganger took out storage bags and put the pieces of land in them. The grade 2 spirit herbs on the ground couldn't be easily let go either. They could also be high-grade spirit herbs that had degenerated from living in an environment lacking in spirit qi for a long time. Therefore, when Wang Daoyuan saw unfamiliar grade 2 spirit herbs, he also dug up a piece of land. In the fog, he couldn't see how big this place was. In any case, digging up the land was quite simple. He used the earth-splitting technique to separate the land from the ground below, and then put the land into the space of the spirit pearl. A piece of land with a diameter of 3 feet and a thickness of 3 feet could be put into the space of the spirit pearl in 4 or 5 breaths. Not long after, Wang Daoyin also slid down. Fortunately, the fog didn't block sound. Wang Daoyin shouted, "Second brother, where are you?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Brother, hurry over here. There are spirit herbs everywhere. I'll dig up the land and you help me put them in. If we work together, it'll be faster." Wang Daoyin followed the sound and ran over. Wang Daoyuan handed him dozens of storage bags. After that, Wang Daoyuan used the earth-splitting technique when he saw a suitable spirit herb. The matter of collecting the land was left to Wang Daoyin. With the two of them working together, the efficiency more than doubled. The others were afraid of being plotted against by Wang Daoyuan and used spells in the passage to slow down as much as possible. After a quarter of an hour, they arrived at this small herb garden. They looked at the potholes on the ground and didn't know what had happened. The cultivator surnamed Tu of the Cruel Sun Palace shouted, "I say, Brat Wang, you're a rising star with a bit of fame in all of Beiyuan Xiuxian. How can you be so useless, plundering a herb garden 3 feet into the ground when you see one?" Wang Daoyuan didn't care about his mockery at all. "My Wang family is a small family and can't compare to you. However, in order to prevent you from saying that I'm scheming against you later, I'll make things clear. How can a peak Yuanian cultivator's spirit herbs be trash? These unremarkable grade 2 spirit herbs could be the degeneration of higher grade spirit herbs. If he brought it out and planted it in a place with abundant spiritual energy, it might be able to advance. Moreover, these spirit plants may be rare species that have already gone extinct in the outside world." As soon as he finished speaking, the cultivators of the Cruel Sun Palace and the myriad spirit sect also began to dig up the ground. This was especially true for that kid with the surname Tuesday. His digging speed was almost on par with Wang Daoyuan's. Wang Daoyuan didn't care at all. The land that he had taken off was about 20 to 30 mu in size. The 4 top forces, plus Zhou dynasty and Qin dynasty, had seen the world, so they did not make a move. However, they were not idle either. Instead, they explored how big this medicinal garden was. After half a cup of tea's time had passed, everyone had more or less explored this small medicinal garden. Wang Daoyuan and his brother also swept through the herb garden. The area of the land that was taken down was about 30 mu. This medicinal garden was about 50 to 60 mu in size, but there were no tier 3 and above spirit plants. There were quite a few dead trees, but it was hard to determine their grade. There were traces of formations on the surrounding stone walls, but it was a pity that the formation patterns had been damaged over time. They even discovered a passageway entrance. Wang Daoyuan was about to head down first, but Cultivator 2 was afraid that he would go down again, so he went down first. Wang Daoyuan also took out his black tortoise shield and followed closely behind. In less than 100 breaths, they arrived at the next level. This was another small medicinal garden. The concentration of spiritual energy here was barely at the level of an inferior grade tier 3 spirit vein, and the fog was even thicker. The range of his spirit consciousness was less than 10 feet, and the range of his eyes was less than 2 feet. Wang Daoyuan was not concerned about the fog. His focus was on the spirit plants. This level disappointed Wang Daoyuan. There were not many spirit plants on the ground, and they were all materials for refining the purple rhythm elixir. Wang Daoyuan could not let go of these things so easily either. He picked 50 to 60 stalks of purple rhythm dragon ginseng that were over 1,000 years old and could be used to refine 50 to 60 cauldrons of purple rhythm elixirs. With the purple rhythm elixir, his back would be firm when he was living off a woman. He also discovered a tall spiritual tree with a trunk that was more than 300 feet tall. Here, the fog lingered and he could not see what kind of tree it was. He used the white tiger blade to cut the tree into several sections and stored them in the space of the spirit pearl. He also dug out the roots and stored them in the space of the spirit pearl. Beside it, there was a small sapling that was more than a foot tall that was similar to the tree. The sapling had purple leaves and its bark was also purplish-black. Through the thick fog, he could not see it clearly. He simply dug it out and planted it in the space of the spirit pearl. After placing it in the space of the spirit pearl and observing the sapling through his clone, he discovered that it was a purple cloud tree. Unfortunately, there was neither pure yin nor yang qi in this place. Currently, there was pure yin qi in the space of the spirit pearl. However, there was no pure yang qi and it could not form purple qi. If the purple cloud tree could not absorb purple qi, it would not be able to form a purple cloud tree core even if it was nurtured for another 100,000 years. As for the sapling, it was placed in the space of the spirit pearl to be nurtured first. In the future, it would bear seeds and nurture new saplings before being transplanted outside. If he could cultivate a forest of purple cloud trees, the Wang family would have the foundation to become a top force. Wang Daoyuan continued to search, wanting to find more purple cloud trees. Unfortunately, he only found some withered trees that would break with a touch. There were very few spiritual herbs in this medicine garden, and most of the spiritual fields were empty. There was no value in excavating the land. The other cultivators also looked down on the immature purple dragon pattern ginseng, so they did not stay here for long. They found a passage that led downwards and went to the next floor. After 100 breaths, everyone arrived at the next floor. The spiritual energy here had reached the level of a high-grade third-level spiritual vein. However, there were no spiritual fields. This place was relatively narrow. It was only a circular space with a diameter of about 10 feet. In the center, there was a high-grade third-level spiritual spring. There was very little spring water gushing out of the spiritual spring, but there was a large amount of fog that had the effect of obscuring spiritual sense. The fog of the hidden cloud continent should have come from here. Next to the spring was a low-grade fourth-level spiritual plant that was more than 10 feet tall and had a crown of more than 10 feet in diameter. The cultivator surnamed Two of the Cruel Sun Palace rushed over, and after a moment of observation, he said in surprise, "This is a low-grade fourth-level hidden cloud tea." Everyone was immediately interested. These days, they had more or less heard about the hidden cloud tea. The hidden cloud tea had the effect of removing pill toxins and increasing spiritual sense. The second-level hidden cloud tea was not of much value to them. But the fourth-level hidden cloud tea was a treasure to Jindan cultivators. The cultivator surnamed Tu reached out to pull it out by the roots, but Wang Daoyuan stopped him. "Wait, Dao, you want to take this hidden cloud tea for yourself, is it not appropriate? I was excavating the land above and invited everyone together. Moreover, this place is the territory of my netherworld sect. Since this underground cave has been discovered, it is my netherworld sect's territory. The Cruel Sun Palace is a guest from afar. If you want to take some tea leaves, it is understandable. But if you want to cut off the roots, it is not justifiable. If you dig out the roots and transplant it to another place, it will not be able to survive. It is simply a waste. In my opinion, we should leave the roots of this hidden cloud tea and divide the tea leaves equally among the 9 of us. What do you think, fellow Taoists?" Originally, the Cruel Sun Palace wanted to take the tea for themselves. But now that it was divided equally, no one would be at a disadvantage. Apart from Lei Wudao and the cultivator surnamed Tu, the others did not have any objections. Everyone plucked the tea leaves and Wang Daoyuan divided them into 9 equal portions. Wang Daoyuan took the opportunity to cut off a few sprouts and put them into the space of the spirit pearl. If the sprouts from a 4th-level spirit plant could survive, as long as there was enough spiritual energy, they could quickly grow into a 4th-level spirit plant. Compared to using a seed to grow into a 4th-level lower-grade spirit plant, the speed was dozens of times faster. Zifu realm cultivators were unable to detect what was taken in and taken out of the spirit pearl. In addition, the mist was extremely dense, so everyone's spiritual sense was greatly restricted. On the other hand, there were 40 to 50 caddies of tea leaves picked from the hidden cloud tea. No one noticed that a few sprouts were missing. The tea leaves were quickly divided and each family received about 5 caddies. Wang Daoyuan placed the tea leaves that belonged to the Netherworld sect into an empty storage pouch and handed it to Luo Hongming. Chapter 424. Luo Hongming didn't take the storage pouch and smiled. "Steward Wang, there's no need for that. The Grand Elder has instructed that you're in charge of this trip. Just take it." Wang Daoyuan had no use for it, and it would only make others think about him. "Since I'm in charge, then listen to me." Luo Hongming didn't refute and accepted the storage pouch. Wang Daoyuan used the water dragon technique and formed several foot-long water dragons that entered the spring water. He wanted to see if there were any treasures like spirit spring pearls, but he didn't find anything. It seemed that the spirit spring had scattered all its essence into the clouds. Seeing that he didn't find anything, everyone lost interest in the spirit spring. There was nothing on this level apart from the spirit spring and tea trees. There was no point in staying any longer. After finding a passageway that led downwards, everyone left. Dozens of breaths later, they arrived at a stone bridge. There were no clouds here. The stone bridge was more than 100 feet long and 3 feet wide. 2 to 3 feet below the stone bridge was a river of lava. The lava would occasionally bubble and spit out flames. The stone bridge was made of good material. The lava and flames couldn't burn it at all. There was a flight restriction formation here. Those below the golden core stage couldn't fly. If they wanted to cross, they could only cross this stone bridge. Wang Daoyuan looked at the stone bridge and smiled at Cultivator Tuesday. Daoyu too, you like to compete. I'll leave this opportunity to you. Cultivator 2 wasn't confident. The other side of the stone bridge should be the core area of True Monarch 100 Spirits' abode. A peak Yuanian cultivator's abode even had a 4th-grade magic treasure blocking the entrance. Now that they were in the core area, how could there be any lack of formations and restrictions? A Zifu realm cultivator was nothing more than a bug that could be crushed at any time in front of a Yuanian cultivator's methods. Who knew if True Monarch 100 Spirits' killing move was on the other side of the stone bridge? Everyone stared at the two cultivators from the Myriad Spirit sect. The Myriad Spirit sect liked to rear spirit beasts and spirit insects. If they couldn't bear to use spirit beasts, they could use spirit insects to scout the way. 1,000 Spirit Sect disciples smiled awkwardly and said, although everyone in our 1,000 Spirit Sect raises spirit beasts and spirit insects, most of us only raise one kind. Both of us are rearing spirit beasts, not spirit insects. The others did not dare to step forward. Wang Daoyuan did not want to continue wasting time. He released a dozen soul-chasing bees and had them fly along the stone bridge. The 1,000 Spirit Sect disciple looked at the soul-chasing bees and asked, where did Wang Daoyu get these soul-chasing bees? Wang Daoyuan pretended to be confused and asked, what's soul-chasing bee? This spirit wasp was obtained by killing a rogue cultivator many years ago when he was traveling in the Heavenly/Mountain Range. I don't know what this thing is called, but since it's quite long, I call it the long-tailed bee. The Myriad Spirit Sect disciple said, this spiritual wasp was found by a grand elder of our Myriad Spirit Sect more than 200 years ago in the sky-beheading mountain range. I'm not afraid of exposing my family's dirty linen. More than 130 years ago, a disciple in charge of raising soul-chasing bees stole a nest of them and escaped. The Qi refinement disciple did not leave behind anything like a soul lamp, so we still don't know if he's dead or alive. The rogue cultivator that Daoyu killed might be that traitor. I wonder when and where did Daoyu kill that rogue cultivator? Wang Daoyuan replied, it's too early. At that time, I was still a Qi refinement cultivator. When I was traveling in the Green Willow region, I killed a treasure-snatching cultivator. The 1,000 Spirit Sect disciple nodded and said, this matter can be considered to have come to an end. The sect traitor cannot escape death in the end. After we go out, I will report this matter to the Grand Elder of our sect. The decision will be made by the Grand Elder. Wang Daoyuan was not worried about what would happen to the Myriad Spirit Sect. With his current status, let alone a Qi refinement cultivator, even if he killed a direct descendant of a Golden Core cultivator, what could the Myriad Spirit Sect do? The Wang family was not a subordinate of the Myriad Spirit Sect. More than 100 years ago, the Myriad Spirit Sect and the Netherworld Sect were still enemies. Wang Daoyuan said that he killed a treasure-snatching cultivator, but the Myriad Spirit Sect did not have proof. It was said that the treasure-snatching cultivator was a traitor of the Myriad Spirit Sect. Who could be sure that the soul-chasing bees did not change hands halfway? The soul-chasing bees flew forward for more than 100 feet before they were roasted to death by the magma. They did not trigger any array attacks. Wang Daoyuan released a 100-feet-long water dragon, which wrapped more than 10 soul-chasing bees and flew along the stone bridge to the other side. The heat of the magma was extremely strong, but it was unable to quickly roast a 100-feet-long water dragon. The water dragon successfully carried the soul-chasing bees to the other side of the magma river. Everyone also heaved a sigh of relief. At least they did not have to die on the bridge. The Myriad Spirit Sect's disciple then released a 3-meter-long white leopard. This leopard was also a 3rd-grade demonic beast. He glanced at Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan also knew what he meant and used the water dragon to wrap the leopard. The leopard walked to the stone bridge and quickly ran to the other side. This time, everyone no longer had any doubts. There was no danger on the surface of the stone bridge. Everyone cast spells to protect themselves and walked across the stone bridge. Wang Daoyuan continued to release the soul-chasing bees to scout ahead, and the white leopard followed behind. After walking through a narrow passage, they came to a spacious space. There were 4 palace-like buildings here, and there was a cave abode on the stone wall. The 4 palaces were the Refining Hall, the Pellet Hall, the Spirit Beast Hall, and the Treasury. The cave abode was most likely the place where perfected Lord 100 Spirits passed away. From the looks of it, perfected Lord 100 Spirits might want to establish a sect. However, The outside world did not hear of any forces acknowledging perfected Lord Hundred Spirits as their ancestor. The only legacy of true Lord Hundred Spirits that was passed down to the outside world was the divine heaven-burning technique. Needless to say, the cave abode was very likely to contain perfected Lord Hundred Spirits' inheritance. Furthermore, the Scarlet Yang primordial fire was refined by perfected Lord Hundred Spirits, and it was most likely where he passed away. Seeing the 4 palaces and the cave abode, everyone began to be wary of each other. Wang Daoyuan smiled. Since you don't trust each other, then let's go our own way. His target was naturally the cave abode. He was here for the spiritual fire. The 4 top forces and the Zhou dynasty's imperial family had been passed down for tens of thousands of years. They really did not care much about the cultivation techniques and spells of a Yuanying cultivator. After all, these forces had more advanced inheritances. Although the Qin dynasty was founded less than 10,000 years ago, it was an old noble of the Zhou dynasty a long time ago. Their family also had Yuanying cultivation techniques and above. What they cared more about was the refining and alchemy inheritances left behind by perfected Lord Hundred Spirits, as well as the precious spiritual herbs and spiritual beasts. Moreover, the restriction array in the cave abode was definitely the strongest and the most difficult to break. It was better to get the treasures in the 4 palaces first before breaking into the cave abode. The ones who really cared about the Yuanying cultivation techniques were the 3 sects of the Zhou dynasty. After all, the 3 sects were established after the various countries fought for hegemony. They had never seen the Yuanying cultivation techniques before. The disciples of the other forces ran to the 4 palaces. The disciples of the 3 sects came to the entrance of the cave abode. Wang Daoyuan released a dozen soul-chasing bees, and they flew toward the entrance of the cave abode. When they were more than 10 feet away from the entrance, a red flame with a hint of gold shot out from the entrance, burning the soul-chasing bees to ashes instantly. The flame was only as thick as a chopstick. Everyone stood more than 10 feet away, but they felt hot all over. In addition to the violent fire attribute spiritual power, the flame also contained extremely rich pure yang qi. It was similar to the legendary Scarlet Yang primordial fire. Wang Daoyuan was overjoyed. The Scarlet Yang primordial fire was still there. However, it was troublesome to get in. The power of the flame was comparable to the attack of a golden core cultivator. Luo Hongming and the other 2 were so scared that their faces turned pale. The cultivation methods they practiced were all evil cultivation methods, and they were of the Yin attribute. If the pure Yin Qi and the pure Yang Qi were mutually reinforcing and counteracting each other, they would not be afraid of each other. However, the underworld sect was an evil sect that pursued lethality. It was impossible for them to practice the pure Yin Qi. The Yin Qi in their spiritual power was also extremely impure. When the impure Yin Qi met the pure Yang Qi, it was like meeting the nemesis. The cultivators of the Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace also looked pale. The restriction array in the cave abode was so strong that the hope of breaking it was extremely slim. Chapter 425. The 2000 Spirit sect cultivators quickly left the cave abode and headed for the Spirit Beast Hall. To them, the cultivation techniques of Yuanying cultivators were important, but treasuring the spirit beasts was even more important. Wang Daoyuan said to Luo Hongming and the other 2, "Your cultivation techniques all contain Yin Qi, so you won't have much resistance against this flame. You won't be of any help if you continue to stay here. Let's go to the 4 palaces to search for treasures, lest the good stuff get snatched away by other factions." The 3 of them had no objections. They also felt uncomfortable staying in this place with dense Yang Qi. After they left, Lei Wudao and Cultivator 2 of the Cruel Sun Palace were in a dilemma. If they continued to stay here, they might end up empty-handed. If they didn't stay here and Wang Daoyuan broke the defensive formation, they would suffer a great loss if he took all the benefits for himself. Lei Wudao instructed, "Senior brother 2, you continue to stay here. I'll go to the other palaces to search for treasures." Cultivator 2 didn't want to stay here either, but he still nodded and agreed. Only Wang Daoyuan and Cultivator 2 were left in front of the cave abode. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Daoyu 2, you're a fire attribute cultivator. Do you have any way to deal with this golden flame?" Cultivator 2 asked back, "You're a Penta Spirit Roots cultivator. Don't you also cultivate fire attribute? Can't you tell if this flame can be dealt with?" Wang Daoyuan laughed disdainfully. So Dao Yu is planning to watch from the sidelines and pick up the spoils after I break the formation? Then I might as well get rid of Dao Yu first before trying to break the formation. Cultivator 2 didn't want to fight with him now either. What do you want? Wang Daoyuan replied, Your cruel sun palace is a large sect with several golden core cultivators. Furthermore, your fire attribute cultivation techniques are quite advanced. You should have fire control techniques, right? My master has also taught me how to control fire. How about we deal with this spirit fire together? Right now, the others are attacking the defensive formation of the 4 palaces. If they waited until they broke the formation and obtained the things in the palace, then they would come to the cave abode. Then the 2 of us won't be able to get anything. I don't dare to compete with the underworld sect, but do you dare to compete with the 4 top forces and the 2 royal families? Cultivator 2 thought for a moment before replying, All right, let's cooperate this once. However, if we get any cultivation methods or spells, we'll each make a copy of it. No one can keep it for themselves. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, No problem. I have the 5 elemental cultivation techniques. This fire elemental cultivation technique doesn't have much meaning. At most I can learn some spells. I released the soul-chasing wasp to lure the array formation to attack. Then, we'll cast spells together to consume this red-gold flame. The spirit vein in this place was only of the 3rd grade, and it was impossible for it to support the array formation to continuously launch attacks that were comparable to that of a golden core cultivator. Once the might of these flames drops to the advanced stage of the Violet Palace realm, would we be unable to deal with a formation that isn't controlled by anyone with our strength? The cultivator surnamed 2 nodded and said, Let's do that. With that said, the 2 of them began to cast spells to control the flames. Wang Daoyuan condensed a Bai Fong Phantom, while the cultivator surnamed 2 took out a scarlet gourd. After the 2 of them were ready, Wang Daoyuan released a dozen or so soul-chasing wasp, which flew towards the entrance of the cave. When the soul-chasing wasp was more than 10 feet away from the entrance, a wisp of golden flame appeared once again. Wang Daoyuan controlled the Bai Fong Phantom to fly over and extract the fire elemental spirit chi from this wisp of golden flame. On the other side, the cultivator surnamed 2 also controlled the scarlet gourd to extract the fire elemental spirit chi. No matter how strong this wisp of flame was, it wasn't controlled by anyone. It only knew how to deal with things that approached the cave, and didn't know how to deal with Wang Daoyuan and the cultivator surnamed Tuesday. Wang Daoyuan continuously released the soul-chasing wasp to their deaths, and the flame continued to burn. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Wang Daoyuan's Bai Fong Phantom rapidly expanded. Its wingspan was now more than 150 feet. The entire illusory figure of the Bai Fong had turned completely golden. The cultivator surnamed 2's scarlet gourd also flickered with a red-gold radiance. The wisp of flame released by the formation was finally reduced to the level of an all-out attack by a late-stage Zifu realm cultivator. This level of attack no longer had the ability to threaten the lives of the 2 of them. At this moment, Wang Daoyuan felt that the defensive formation of the cave seemed to have a trace of connection with the Bai Fong Phantom. He didn't find it strange. After all, the heaven-burning divine fire technique was created by the 100 Spirits Supreme. In addition, the spirit chi that formed the Bai Fong Phantom all came from the red gold flame. It wasn't impossible for it to have some connection with the formation of the cave. He didn't release the soul-chasing wasp anymore. Instead, he controlled the Bai Fong Phantom to fly within the range of the defensive formation. The formation didn't attack the Bai Fong Phantom. Wang Daoyuan controlled the Bai Fong Phantom to arrive at the entrance of the cave. The moment it touched the door opened automatically. The 2 of them were surprised. They originally thought that it would take a few hours to exhaust the formation's power. They didn't expect it to succeed so quickly. Wang Daoyuan guessed that the formation didn't attack indiscriminately. Instead, it used spirit chi to determine friend and foe. At first, the Bai Fong Phantom didn't have any connection with the formation. After extracting a large amount of spirit chi from the red gold flame, a connection was formed. He extracted a portion of fire spirit chi from the Bai Fong Phantom and wrapped it around his body to prevent the formation from attacking him. Then, he carefully entered the range of the formation. As expected, the formation didn't attack him. After entering the cave, he didn't retrieve the Bai Fong Phantom. Instead, he compressed it to the size of a few dozen feet and brought it into the cave. Cultivator 2 followed suit. He extracted some spirit chi from the gourd dharma artifact and wrapped it around his body. He also successfully entered the cave. Then he closed the door of the cave. There was nothing special about the cave of the 100 Spirits Supreme. It was a stone room that occupied half an acre of land. There was only a stone table and a few stone stools. It wasn't as fancy as Xueqi's cave. There was another door inside. The two of them were still wrapped in spirit chi extracted from the red gold flame. They weren't afraid of the formation's attack and continued to walk through the second door. The inside of the second door was very spacious. The floor and walls were engraved with formation patterns. There were also 8 white jade pillars that were 1 foot in diameter and 3 feet in height. The pillars were also engraved with complicated formation patterns. The 8 white jade pillars formed a circle. In the middle was a pit that was more than 3 feet in diameter and 3 feet in depth. There was a ball of red gold spirit fire in the pit. It should be the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire. The Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire was only about 5 inches tall and emitted level 3 upper-grade spirit chi waves. Wang Daoyuan was a little excited. He couldn't wait to put the spirit fire into the space of his spirit pearl. However, he couldn't do it with Cultivator 2 here. There was a spirit beast egg floating above the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire. This spirit beast egg was the size of a goose egg. The eggshell was white and there were complicated red gold patterns on it. These patterns seemed to contain something profound, but Wang Daoyuan couldn't understand what it meant. The spirit beast egg still contained rich vitality, but it seemed to be in a deep sleep. He used his divine sense to explore below and saw that below the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire was the formation core made of blood fire hibiscus wood. The formation core was directly connected to the magma below to provide the formation with fire attribute spirit chi. This formation was recorded in the 5-element Spiritual Master's Formation Inheritance. It was called the Sky-Burning Divine Fire Formation. It needed the spirit fire as the core of the formation core. Below the formation core, in addition to the formation patterns of the Sky-Burning Divine Fire Formation, there were other formation patterns. However, these formation patterns were used to guide spirit chi. It seemed that this should be the spirit chi center of the entire underground space. As long as the formation core made of blood fire hibiscus wood was destroyed, the defensive formations of the 4 palaces would be all broken. The no-fly formation outside should also be difficult to protect. According to the information, the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire of the 100 Spirits was condensed with the true life fire of the red-feathered crow. The Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire was similar to the red-feathered crow's true life fire, so this egg needed to be nourished by the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire. It was very likely to be the red-feathered crow's egg. There was such rich pure yang chi in the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire. The red-feathered crow's true life fire would only have more yang chi. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.